Hello and welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Back to the Frame Rate, where we watch and discuss films on VOD and streaming platforms for your entertainment. I'm your host, Nathan Shore, and alongside me are my fantastic movie mavens, Brianna Butterworth, Ellie Escobar, Sam Cole. Ellie will be joining us shortly. For now, let me introduce what we're going to be doing today. Today is a very special episode. We got our finger on the pulse of Hollywood, and we're about to break down the year that was. Getting ready for our grand unveiling of our top 10 films of 2023, a list that was so carefully curated and crafted with passion and maybe a bit of heated debate. But we're not just here to share our picks. We've actually called on some friends of the podcast, each with their number one movie of the year, adding some extra flavor to the show. So stand by for that later on in the show. And today is not just about rankings. We're also going to be handing out some awards, celebrating some performances that I guess you could say left us in awe for the year. So also some big stories that defined the year in film. So we're going to get right into that now. How is everybody doing, by the way?
Cannot complain, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, same. I'm great. I love the new year. I love it.
So we are going to talk about some of the big stories that defined 2023. I think things started off pretty good, but I think obviously we can't reflect back on 2023 without talking about. I think the big story was the SAG and writer's strike, the WGA strikes, which definitely put a damper on the summer and the fall.
Went on forever.
Went on forever. What 104 days was it? I don't know the number right in front of me, but it definitely affected the movie release schedule, the way that movies could be promoted from, well, of course, actors and the directors. So it was definitely put a damper on the season and affected the box office and the way that movies could be promoted and released. Who here would like to, share any thoughts on how this may have affected the year for you guys?
Well, I think just in general, in terms of like the schedule and like the year as a sense of a clock, it sort of threw off a bunch of releases and sort of disrupted everything. And so now 2024 has a lot of movies, but a lot of movies are pushed back to 2025. So it was a real disruptor. And like, I had friends that were living in LA that had to move because they had no work. So they moved back east. So like, it was a big factor, in spite of the fact some really good like original films came out this summer. It was definitely felt. And even though like the deal is ongoing and I hope it works out well, I was just glad that they were able to come to some type of agreement, because 2023 has been a rough road in that business. Yeah.
I think it's going to affect the new content on streaming next year too. I think we're going to feel the ripples of this next year.
Oh, totally. Because I think we're already seeing it. Because have you noticed that? Because obviously well, first of all, I'm happy that actors are going to be paid fairly and compensated properly. We're going to see that ripple effect, and we're already probably seeing it with the price hikes that streaming platforms. They're, it's going to get passed down to the consumers. Now, I'm not complaining, because I believe that the actors should get and writers should be paid properly.
Right.
But you're seeing Hulu, you're seeing Netflix, all of these price hikes happening, and that is the streaming platforms as it's a reflection of the money that they are now having to cover their bottom line as well, because they're paying these actors and writers a higher sum of money. So listen, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be doing this, but this is the ramifications of it. So it's all
really highlighted what a broken system it is.
Yeah. And more titles are going to be leaving the platforms as well, and you're going to see that as well. Did you guys see? Oh my god, I'm trying to remember which service it was. I don't know if it was Microsoft or Sony. I wish I had this information right in front of me, but they announced that if you purchased a movie on their, it might have been Google, Microsoft, or Sony, I cannot remember. Somebody is going to listen to this and correct me, I know, but if you purchase this, not as a rental, but if you purchased a movie, people think if you buy a movie on one of these services, you own it. You don't own this stuff. It's still a license. But if you purchase it, they are taking this license away from you. You drop $25, $20 on a movie and it's on this cloud that you think you own. No, they are actually taking this license back. So it's I think there was this illusion that when everything went to streaming and this system where all these movies live in the cloud, that this was going to be this wonderful opportunity where all movies are going to be available all the time, and we're learning that's not the case. Another reason why you should probably own the physical media if you really really love the movie. So
Buy the
I enjoy
blues,
owning the
people.
yeah.
physical media. Yeah, I'm all
Yeah.
about the physical media. I've got my Blu-ray library at
Nice.
home. It's like, it's like it's epic. But I will say, sort of randomly, that in spite of the strike and like the difficulties this year, the schedule, the lineup during the holiday season to me seemed relatively full. I just think that the issue was that a lot of the movies couldn't promote themselves, and that hurt box office, in various cases. But yeah, so it was kind of uneven.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of things got, well, yes. I think there were decent amount of films that did get moved. I know we saw Dune 2 get moved this year, but you're seeing a lot of movies because mostly because of I think the strike from next year getting moved from 2024 to 2025. Like we're not going to see the next Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Beyond the Spider-Verse happen next year. It might be the following year. There's a lot of things that are getting shuffled around because of this.
Yeah, I was like
Yeah.
listening on the radio, and they were saying how 2024 might have a slightly slimmer schedule because of just the
Mhm.
way it worked out. I mean, I guess we'll find out and see what that feels like. Maybe it'll feel normal, but definitely projects pushed back for sure.
It's interesting that this is on the heels of the pandemic too, which I think really affected how we see how we see movies and what we see in movies. The movies, like I watch a movie in 2023 that was clearly filmed during the pandemic, and it just looks like, where are the bodies in this?
Yeah.
And I think we're going to look back at our box office games and stuff like that and think, why was this released then? And what happened there? And this person must have been in a weird place in their career when this finally came out. And
I really think, no joke, that Jurassic World Dominion, which was shot during the pandemic, I mean, that movie was really had problems, but the pandemic nature of that shoot, you can just feel the truncated, like close ups, nonsensical edits. Like it's just,
Mhm.
um, I mean, I liked Mission Impossible 7 a lot, but even that had a bit of a pandemic vibe, and you could tell some streets were sort of empty in Rome and stuff like
Exactly.
that. But yeah, I mean, definitely, effect.
Yeah, I really felt it in Woman King and Confess Fletch of all things. I think because it's Boston, I live in Boston. I was like, why is there nobody in the tunnel? Uh
Oh, nice.
Right, right. All right. So another story from 2023, I think that we should just touch on at least briefly, was obviously the superhero fatigue, which I think we all.
I'm tired of it.
You're tired of it.
I've been tired of it for years, Nathan.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on board with these movies since at least the Marvel films, since they started in I guess like 2008 with Iron Man. But I definitely think that this past year, 2023, it definitely we saw it. Box office take a big turn for lower numbers, and the public is not embracing these. I think I'll just share my quick thought on this. I think Sam, you probably have a thought as well on this, but status quo, just churning these out, expecting the public to come out no matter the quality of them is not going to cut it anymore. Is the bottom line for these, and I think that's what we're seeing basically. A lot of the movies, I think the movies that came out were fine. I don't think there was a bad movie that came out in this genre this year. I saw all of them, but it's
So
not good enough.
all
It's
of
not,
them?
I saw Blue Beetle. I saw the Marvels. I saw Shazam, Fury of the Gods,
It's
which I actually don't.
commitment.
I actually don't think Shazam was that good. Actually, I saw these. If
I'll backtrack
and the Flash, most of these I actually really thought they were good. In Guardians of the Galaxy, which I thought was really great.
That was great.
But you know, a movie just being good is not good enough because we're 50 movies into all of these in the past 15 years, and it's just it's I said this I think in a prior episode. You can change out the superheroes, you can change the villains, but I feel like we're just ordering off the same menu,
Mm.
so many times. So it's just, it's not. They need to. I think there needs to be a massive change in the way that they approach these. I don't know, Sam. What do you think?
I think one positive aspect of like the superhero fatigue is I think Hollywood will definitely take notice and try to improve the next films, because I don't think the films are bad. And like Nathan, you've definitely seen a lot more of them this year than I have. I saw Guardians 3, which I thought was decent, but I like Volume 2 a lot better. Um,
Mm.
but I just feel there's a sense of kind of treading water that Marvel with the Avengers and Endgame peaked, and after that, not all. There's been a lot of really good movies and good content, but it's just kind of there's a feeling of treading water. There's no kind of build up like going somewhere, and so the movies are good, but they're not great. And I think that people are just like a little um not like they don't hate them, but they're tired. They're not going to go out to the theater in droves. They might just catch it on streaming later, but there doesn't feel like there's a driving force at the moment. So I look at superhero fatigue as a sort of hopefully positive course correction. I'm all about superhero movies, but like you said, you just can't just keep putting them out the exact same way, because it's becoming like common almost.
Yeah.
I'm
That,
I'm wondering if another thing that we read is superhero fatigue is just other really big summer box office stuff. I think we forget that like people sometimes have to choose what movie to go see once every month or something.
Yeah, no,
And this
absolutely.
summer they had Barbenheimer and people were making double features out of that. And they had
Mhm.
the revival of these franchises. There were just the Eras Tour, Beyonce's thing. There were just some big movies that people's kids were driving them to
Mhm.
as well. And I think that probably matters. But I wonder if there was a tipping point where people were like, I'm done with Marvel. And I kind of wonder if it was Love and Thunder.
I don't know.
Mm.
I actually, the funny thing is, I
Well,
Love and Thunder had
after
its
Love and
problems, but I
Thunder,
I liked Love and Thunder. Like
I
I
did
it's
too, but
silly, and I heard they're gonna do a fifth Thor that's like more serious, and like I welcome that with open arms. But
I
I
like
just
the
thought it
silly.
was. Yeah, I didn't think it was. I like a lot of people were disappointed in it, but I didn't think it was terrible. I was
Mm.
entertained the whole time watching
keep
that
in
movie.
mind, after Love and Thunder came the next follow up to Black Panther, which made I think almost $900 million. It was not a disaster, although I don't think it was nearly as good as the first Black Panther.
Yeah,
But
the first
but
one was
but s-
incredible. Yeah,
but still, yeah, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever was a big hit.
That's true.
It was, but I agree. I think it was the anticipation that went into Love and Thunder was high, and it did not. I don't think most of the public
yeah.
got much out of it. But yeah, it's I think I said this a few months ago. It's this very I don't think there is a real MCU. Is there an MCU movie coming out in 2024? I mean, we got Deadpool 3, but that's not really in the MCU. By the way, that comes out my birthday weekend. I will be at a theater. You're all invited to join me.
Hell yeah.
I'll be there with a big tub of popcorn and a lot of
Hell yeah.
Skittles, getting hopped up on sugar.
You're
So
a Skittles
What?
guy? That's your movie snack?
When is your birthday weekend?
just July. I'm July 28th. So
Nice,
so
Good
join
nice.
me. You're
looks.
all welcome to join me for Deadpool 3. I just want a lot of sugar for that movie. That's what I'm saying.
I might
I'm
be
not
in a cruise that day, so just letting you know.
okay. Anyways, but yeah, but I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's another Marvel film that's coming out,
Is there? Isn't there one? I don't know.
because I don't know if
Yeah.
they're pushing Captain America to the next year or not. That
I've
it's
stopped
fluctuating.
tracking. I've stopped tracking. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Listen,
get
I don't watch superhero movies only unless my kid takes me to the movie to see them. and I have to see them because he comes with me to see the movies he doesn't want to see. So I have to see through Marvel movies, even though they're not my genre. But I enjoy them every once in a while. And I've seen all of this except for Shazam.
You're not missing
I saw the
anything.
first one. Weren't there 2 Shazams?
Yeah, the first Shazam was fine.
I kind of
Second
liked the first
Shazam
one.
wasn't.
By the way, Nathan, you're right. I just checked. There's some Disney Plus Marvel things, but only Deadpool 3 is as a theatrical release, and then the
It has
next movie is Captain America: Brave New Worlds 2025.
Oh, that did right now has a 2025 release date. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be it's a pretty barren year. Well, Marvel's got to has to reassess a lot of things right now. So we'll see what happens. And now that um it's the whole story with Jonathan Majors obviously playing Kang, and that's now he is no longer part of the MCU. They have to completely reassess where they're heading with phase 5 and phase 6 and all that, because he was going to be a big part of that. He is no longer part of the equation.
Yeah,
And
and that's the thing that it's confusing, and there's not a sense of excitement as to what's coming next. And what phase are we in, 4 or 5
we're in
right
5.
now?
Five,
We're in
five,
5.
five started
Quantumania was 5, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that started with, and there's been no direction. So anyways,
Yeah, we can feel that as the audience. We can feel it. Yeah.
I never want to talk about movie franchises in phases ever again.
Yeah, it's yeah. We in fact we could end this right now talking about this, but
Yes,
it definitely was a big story for the year. So I just wanted to touch on it for a moment. But this does lead us a little bit further deeper into Disney in general, because this is the first year that Disney did not end up as the number one studio as far as box office receipts. Universal took the number one spot. First time since I think 2015 or 2016. I think that's a kind of interesting thing because Disney obviously with between they own Lucasfilm, which has the Indiana Jones films. They've got Pixar. They've got a lot of other companies and studios underneath their title as well. So they've got a lot of things going on, but this is the first time that they did not end up on top. And I kind of like tallied up. I spent a lot of time on my hands in the past 2 weeks, and I was doing a little bit of research, and things started off pretty well at the beginning of the year for the most part. Ant-Man 3, we're getting back into Marvel, but between Ant-Man 3, they had is it Chevalier or Chevalier? I didn't see this movie. I think
Chevalier.
Chevalier sounds like a car. Guardians 3, The Little Mermaid was a pretty big hit for them. The Boogeyman was a small indie horror release. And Elemental, which in the end did pretty well from them, but these were like the first half of the 2023 releases. Overall, pretty decent, but the second half of 2023 was a real bomb for them. Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. I keep forgetting this. That movie had a $300 million budget.
Yeah.
That did not end up on the screen.
No, it did not. It did not end up on the screen. It didn't look bad, but that did not look like it. Yeah.
And that
Agreed.
movie only grossed worldwide $384 million. But after that, Haunted Mansion bombed. The Creator bombed as well.
I heard The Creator got good reviews though, didn't it? I hadn't seen it, but I heard good things.
I'm not talking about the quality of the films. I'm just saying that as a studio, they gambled on movies that just did not work out. Obviously the Marvels, Taika Waititi's follow-up film, Next Goal Wins, did poorly, and Wish, Disney Animation Studios, not Pixar. That movie had a $200 million budget, has since only, as of a few days ago, only grossed about $185 million or so. So not terrible, but these things are not making their budget. Movies typically have to double in gross what their budget is to become profitable. So as you can see that it was a pretty bad year in comparison to previous years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Disney has been dethroned since 2016. And I think that's a pretty interesting thing. Universal from behind Fast X and obviously Oppenheimer were, I think, the big movies for them. Not maybe Fast X. I don't know. What was other Universal releases? I'm trying to think, but
what was Barbie? Was Barbie Warner? What was Barbie?
That might have been Warner Brothers.
But like Sam felt for the superhero movies, I feel this way for Disney movies. I think that this has led to some really great animation in the last couple of years that's not coming out of Disney. That I
Yes.
thought was really good. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I thought was really interesting. I just like seeing this more interesting animation style. I like seeing the hand that drew it. I'm
Yeah.
tired and fatigued by
Yeah.
everything being flat and placid.
Well, Wish and Elemental have the look of something that was just taken out of the Disney like storage locker. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's just like standard Disney fare, but
They
it's
have not
bland.
changed their look and style of their animation in I feel
It's
like 20
stagnant.
25 years. But I love the fact that you brought up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. I think
Mm.
it just
So
has that.
good they put mutant in there
I
twice.
know. And it's got that it has that tactile feel to it, almost like
Yes.
watercolor animation. I've never seen anything like it. It was one of the best times I had watching a movie this year.
Mm.
By the way, I have zero nostalgia for the Turtles, but this movie made me a fan. And I cannot wait
It was
for
great.
the next thing. And I know Sam, you like the ones from the 90s. I went back and watched those, and I thought the first one was okay. The second one was one of the worst things I ever
No,
saw.
the second one is a terrible film. The second one is yeah. I remember the second one isn't, or the third one aren't great, but the first one, that's my like connection with Ninja Turtles. That first film when I saw in 1990, I just was like blown away by like the Jim Henson puppets
Mm.
and the
Yeah.
style. Like that movie's just like incredible to me.
But
Yeah.
this movie, like they actually made the turtles like act like teenagers, which
Yeah.
is also really cool. This movie probably I don't think I actually have a top 20 list on Netflix. Not Netflix. Oh my god, Letterbox, not Netflix. And I almost it almost made my top 20. I saw probably like 80 movies released this year, and it was just in the cusp of it. It was such a really really great animated film. So yeah, this is directed by Jeff Rowe as well, who did a movie I think that was exclusive to Netflix called The Mitchells and the Machines that I saw a couple years ago too. I don't know if anyone caught that, but that was
That
not
was
that
a good
bad.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not bad.
it wasn't bad. I was excited to see what he did next, and I'm glad it was this. But this
Yeah.
was a good year for alternative, to us animation. Miyazaki coming out and doing Boy and the Heron. That was
Hmm.
incredible. He says he'll make movies until he dies, but what a swan song this would be, I think. Zoom, I didn't get to see that one, but people loved it.
I missed that
Yeah,
one.
I think
Yeah.
just for me, and I get that studios and animation houses want to have like a brand and a look, and they all kind of look the same, but I just think we need to breathe some new life into it. I'm looking forward to Inside Out too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
me
oh, but
too. Yeah, I like that one. The
and
first
I
one.
and
Yeah.
I have since we're talking about some animation studios that also have unique um styles. I think we have to mention Aardman Animation Studios, which does the Wallace and Gromit, and also they did
Yeah,
the sequel to Chicken Run, Dawn of the
Dawn of
Nugget,
the Nugget.
which I love that claymation stop
Yeah.
motion thing. Which I waited 23 years for this movie. I thought the movie was pretty good. It wasn't great. I love the original Chicken Run more, but another example of an animated film that is giving us an alternative to the Disney juggernaut out there.
Mm.
And I think there's so many better alternatives right now to what Disney Pixar are putting out right now. I don't feel like it's going to change anytime soon because all they're doing is they've decided to just circle the wagons and do more sequels because they
Hmm.
know what's going to sell. They're doing Inside Out 2, which I'm going to have to see because my kids are going to want to see it. They're doing another Toy Story coming out in a little bit. They're doing
Mm.
Zootopia 2. I don't see much original coming down. And Frozen 3. There's not much original coming down
I can't
coming our way.
spiritually handle a third Frozen. I really
I
can't.
must be. I did like Frozen too, though. Like I enjoyed it. Yeah,
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
it's good.
Anyways,
It's
but,
good.
but yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up the animation from this year, B. Thanks.
Yeah.
A couple other quick things just want to touch on before we get into the other big stuff that we hear that are our top tens. I think we should point out that horror franchises kind of rose from the dead this year. There was I thought it was a nice resurgence. We saw a very successful franchises in do very well with Evil Dead Rise, and Saw 10, Saw X, Scream 6, and The Exorcist Believer. Whether it was a good movie or not is up for debate. But each one of these, and we're talking like
And go back and listen to
quadruple.
our episode on
Yeah.
it where we debate that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Scream, I finally saw Scream 4, the 2011 film, and
Yeah.
I'm behind only by like 12 years, and I friggin' loved it.
Nice.
Yeah. But all these franchises, they're all made for like under like $30 million, and they're making like well over 100 million to like $160 million. So these,
Yeah.
they know how to do this. And a lot of these are Blumhouse,
Mhm.
taking the rights to these, and they just know how to cast these right.
They
And
know how to cast them, they know how to deliver, and it's like
Yeah.
a spectacular business model because it's like much
Mhm.
lower cost, huge possibility of massive box office.
Mhm.
I'd love to do sometime with you guys is maybe we do as a bonus episode sometime. What would be the top 5 horror franchises we'd love to see, like Blumhouse, like revive from the dead or something like that, or I don't know, because I think
Oh, that'd be
there's
cool. Yeah.
That would be cool.
The Leprechaun with
Well,
Warwick Davis.
we got
Not
the
saying no.
we got the
Not saying no.
Not saying no. See, it could be good. Yeah.
we got the Omen coming out. That's being rebooted, I think.
Yeah.
Later here.
That's my, like, for me, that's when I want a classic horror, like that early 2000s is what I go to. Like The Omen, The Ring. I love that.
I love the Richard Donner Omen film. I think it's like 1976 or like that movie's amazing. Yeah.
Sam Neill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, with not Sam Neill. Damn it. Yeah.
No,
I'm pretty sure. Hold on, let me check something.
You know what's funny?
Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck. That's it. Gregory Peck.
The original Omen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that
funny.
movie.
Our audience doesn't know this, but when we were deciding on which horror franchise to do for this past October, Sam, you were really pushing for The Omen, right?
I love that movie. Yeah, I really love that. It's well done. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's something we do someday.
There's a series, Omens. We can do Omens instead of Exorcist.
Oh God.
There's no way The Omen 2 can be as bad as The Exorcist 2, because that's the worst film I've ever seen in my life, like in my opinion.
What was the name of the evil dude in Exorcist 2? The spirit?
Oh no! Oh God!
Began with a B, didn't it?
But
not Berserker.
Yeah. Oh man. Nabutu or Pazuzu.
Pazuzu with a P. Pazuzu.
Pazuzu.
Yeah.
And the way Gregory Peck would be like, "Tell me about Pazuzu."
You need the Omen Exorcist crossover?
That'd be pretty awesome.
Somehow Richard Burton's in both. He comes back.
That is a Mark Wahlberg, an Omen Exorcist crossover with the Omen and the Exorcist coming on the left and the right of him, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And that's the movie. I would love to see that.
The Omencist. Yes.
Yeah. This is crazy, guys. These are some bad news bears right here. Let me tell you.
Oh my God. It's another franchise.
Yeah.
Or remake.
Speaking of like genres that either did well or just didn't do that well in the theater, one of the things that was probably huge in the 80s and 90s was, getting like adult, and actually in the aughts, was adult R-rated comedies. I think used to do so well. There was a time when you think of like the Judd Apatow, or,
like American Pie, stuff like
American
that.
Pie,
Huge,
even up to like The Hangover and things like that.
Yeah,
these things would make bank. And these days, these kind of movies just end up on streaming platforms. It goes direct to the streaming platforms. And there were a couple movies I just want to point out that tried to make a go of it in the theater, but just failed pretty miserably. The one that did do pretty well, and I actually really, really liked this movie. I think, Ellie, you were a big fan of this as well, was No Hard Feelings. Still pretty big budget, and that was probably because Jennifer Lawrence probably sucked up a lot of that budget, but that was $45 million. But it did gross $87 million, which is okay. And I think I hear it's doing pretty well in streaming.
I wanted to see that. I have not seen
funny.
that. Yeah.
It's really funny. It is good. Bottoms, which I caught up with a couple of weeks ago, I thought was pretty good. But honestly, it came and went. Nobody really saw it in the theater. Joyride, $32 million budget, only made 15.8 worldwide. And Strays,
the second worst movie ever made.
$46 million budget, grossed $36 million.
I hated Strays. I hated that
Yeah.
That's right.
Freaking
I
movie.
remember you just liking that. I want to see it
Oh,
because you dislike it because I want to see why it's
it's
bad.
dog
Whenever
shit,
anyone
Sam.
dislikes a movie, my immediate reaction is I gotta see that. I don't
It's
know
so
how I work.
bad.
Yeah.
It's a steaming pile of dog shit, you're saying?
It's a steaming pile of dog shit.
Okay.
Speaking of horror, Insidious: The Red Door did not do that well.
Was that this year?
I think it
Yeah.
was this year, and
Oh, that,
or maybe it did well, it did okay, but I wanted to see it because Patrick Wilson directed it, and I'm just a fan of him as an actor. So I was like, oh, what's his directing like? I was curious. I'll probably still see it. I just
I
haven't seen
did
it
see it
yet.
because I did catch up on all the
Everything.
Insidious movies in the spring, and I think it's good, but he plays it really safe. And I think it's kind of funny that he directs it, and it's really about his son in it who kind of revives his role in it. But I think Patrick Wilson decides that I'm just going to put myself as the star in the movie halfway through it. I don't know.
I really,
It's about me.
I know very little about the Insidious franchise, but I really want to I have not seen any of them, and I want to watch them
Oh,
just
it's good.
because
Yeah.
I literally saw one scene where it was like some kid in a basement, and like on the other side of the door was like another dimension or something,
Yeah.
and I was creeped out legitimately and found it like unsettling in a good cinematic way. So
It's
I
good.
am green on that franchise. I got to check it out.
It's good, and all the movies are PG-13, so it's not like it's a super like hard R like scary. Like it's like if you find like the Conjuring movies good, you'll like these, but they're
Cool.
not as on the same horror, like they're not gory or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely think the Conjuring movies have a creepy factor that is more escalated
I
than the
love the
Insidious.
Conjuring movies. I love the
Yeah,
Conjuring movies
yeah,
and the Conjuring universe. I'm
yeah,
all about the
Hmm.
nun and all that. Like
yeah,
I just the way they do those movies, it works for me. It's fun and
yeah.
it's legitimately creepy and it's like
It's
visually
got
cool.
that
Yeah.
early aught vibe. I
Yes.
love them.
In like a kind of beefed up way. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Very
them.
cool. Well, those are some of the big stories that I just wanted to talk about for 2023. Anything else that I missed or that you want to mention before we get to our top 10?
I would just comment and say that I liked Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny okay, but that was a surprise to me. I know years have gone by since Crystal Skull, which was not as well liked and also by me, but I was surprised Indiana Jones did not do as well. I thought it would be bigger than that. Like it was not a failure, but for me, if you say looking back on 2023, it's just a surprise how much box office erosion there was with that. I liked it just fine, but like I was not blown away at all.
I would just add, separate to Sam's point, but just another thing reflecting on the year, there's been a lot of like and this is, I guess, more of a trend than just this year, but rehashing IP. You have Barbie, you have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Haunting in Venice, which are, of course, the books,
Super
Dungeons and
Mario Brothers.
Dragons, Super Mario Brothers. Like, there's just a lot of either toys and games or stories and characters that we've heard and seen before. So just kind of
I think you're going to see
getting over it.
that it's not going away. In fact, you're going to
Yeah.
see Hollywood double down on all of this. You got Super Mario Brothers. We got the Legend of Zelda coming out
Yes,
probably in a
and
couple
Legend of
years.
Yeah.
Zelda will be a controversial choice, but they chose live action, which I am thrilled by because I know that everyone
Yes.
would like animation better, but live action, if they do it right, would be amazing. So I like that risk, and whatever happens, if it's not great, we'll get a strange Zelda movie, which is awesome to me. So
Yeah.
I'm such a huge Legend of Zelda fan. I'm glad to see they're making a movie about that because I've always wanted that. And I just thought you'd think the natural choice given Mario's success would be animation. I love the fact that they're going live action because I did not expect that. So that's what they said. November 7th, 2023. That was the report. Fascinating.
All right, so we're gonna get to our top 10 list, but before we do that, I just want to thank everyone for tuning into our show. Your feedback means a lot to us, and if you agree or disagree with our opinions, we would just love to hear from you. Our email is backtotheframerate@gmail.com, or connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok. Our handle is Back to the Frame Rate. Your support is greatly appreciated. So please take a moment and leave a rating review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred podcast app. Oh, and we are happy to announce that you can now easily find new and past episodes by going to our website, backtotheframerate.com. Our website is new. We'll be building it up more over time, but for right now, it's a great place to find all of our past and present episodes. And on there, you can just, there's a place where you can just find them all on different platforms as well. We're at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts. Although Google Podcasts is going away, I think this year, which is unfortunate. But there's dozens of places where you can easily click and find all of our podcasts on different apps. So that's a great place to find all that. So yes, okay. So we are going to get to our first. We're going to do some movie awards, which I want to do. I don't know who here has this stuff prepped for them, but I did some research over the last couple of weeks. I watched a lot of movies in 2023, and I'd like to hand out a couple awards for some categories for best male performance, female performance, best male supporting performance. Words are hard tonight. I'm sorry, everyone. Best female supporting performance, and I made a category for best newcomer award, which is to an actor or an actress that we think has a bright future. So I think this should be kind of fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we begin? Is everyone ready?
Woo!
Okay.
What's with these homies dissing my girl? Why do they got a front?
All right. Sam, would you like to begin? Open this whole thing with who you would like to nominate for the best male performance of 2023.
So for the best male performance of 2023, hands down for me, it would be Cillian Murphy, just because the movie is larger than life. It was spectacular, and it was literally bigger than other films, as it was like played on giant IMAX screens across the country all summer and into the fall, and then reopened again. But yeah, that for me, that's just a no-brainer.
We can't end this war.
But how do we justify using this weapon on human beings?
We're theorists. Yes? We imagine a future, and our imaginings horrify us. But they won't fear it until they understand it, and they won't understand it until they've used it. When the world learns the terrible secret of Los Alamos, our work here will ensure a peace mankind has never seen. A peace based on the kind of international cooperation that Roosevelt always envisaged.
I've actually seen the film twice now, and not unsurprisingly, it works very well on the smaller screen. Like the story beats and stuff really shine through, and when you see it again, I recommend seeing it the first time.
Sam, I'm assuming you're talking about Oppenheimer. You haven't said the name of the movie, but I'm assuming that's
yeah.
right.
I mean, definitely Oppenheimer. Yeah,
Cillian Murphy for Saw X. That's
exactly.
Right.
Cillian Murphy for Fast X.
Did he do another movie
unknown
this year?
cameo? Yeah. He played one of the CGI cars. He did the acting of the movie for it. But yeah, no, it's incredible, and like that movie gets better upon a second viewing, and so that to me, that's just like I didn't even have to think to jump to that conclusion. That's just me.
Is anyone going to nominate just Cillian Murphy's eyes?
I'm gonna nominate just his hat. Just his hat. Yeah, just the hat.
You saw an IMAX, right?
I did.
So like it was like his face was like 3 stories high, right?
It was, and my God, the difference in like image resolution, like when you see it in IMAX and you see like the dripping water puddles in the beginning, it's like incredible. Then I saw it again on my TV, and it looked fine, but there was nothing when you saw it that big at that clarity, like that 70 millimeter projection was amazing.
Well, you can duplicate that just by sitting right in front of your TV, right? Can't you?
It's in theory.
Right.
I mean.
Flawless concept. I called out of work to do Barbenheimer, and it was the best choice I made. I actually drove from Massachusetts, where I saw Barbie, to Rhode Island to get to an IMAX see Oppenheimer, and it was the right choice.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a good order too.
Yeah, it worked for me.
Yeah, I hear that. That works both ways, but like that's a quality cinema day right there.
Yeah, a lot of peanut M&Ms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was better than that experience was better than Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, but we won't discuss that film.
Ellie, what is your pick for best male performance of 2023?
Yeah, Cillian Murphy.
Awesome performance.
It was memorable.
And he just won his was it his first Golden Globe last night at the we mentioned that the Golden Globes were last night. I've never watched the Golden Globes before, but the reason why I watched it is because my oldest daughter Chloe found out that Taylor Swift was there, of course, and she's like, "We have to watch it, Dad." And so we put it on in the background,
Oh.
and I ended up watching the entire Golden Globes for the first time in my
God.
life. So
I wish I'd watched it. I had food poisoning and slept, so it did not go. I missed it. It sucked, but
I don't
yeah.
know. Both of your nights sound kind of.
It's one of those shows where you could just like read like the synopsis the next morning and know you miss nothing. You know.
I usually
Yeah.
prefer people's live tweets for
Yeah.
award shows to watching the award show.
B, what is your pick for best male performance?
Zac Efron for The Iron Claw.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
is a left field pick.
he was amazing.
I
It
have
was
not.
so
I
good.
can't wait. I'm supposed to see this with my dad sometime this week. I'm
Oof.
trying to get there.
Bring
'Cause
tissues, man.
I grew up a big wrestling fan. I am no longer a wrestling fan, but I think this movie will speak to my childhood because I grew up with wrestling as a huge part of my life. So I think I will love this
I
film.
also grew up with wrestling. I didn't grow up with this family. They were a little bit before my time. So I've heard from some people that like who did grow up with them, like they knew the story a little too well, and so that affected how they saw the movie. But for me, I cried a couple times in that theater. I thought it was incredible, and I thought Zac Efron just did like an astounding, really understated performance. This was the movie I was like, Zac Efron just became a movie star. This is incredible.
That's great to hear.
My super second close pick, almost a tie, was our Pat for The Boy Inherent, because you wouldn't even know it's him. It's crazy.
My pick. I got another maybe left field pick here. I'm going with Nicolas Cage from Dream Scenario.
Oh, nice.
I gotta see it. I gotta see that movie. It's driving me crazy.
And this is again, you know, I think Nicolas Cage is doing some of his best work of his entire life right now.
Mhm.
Between this movie, what he did a couple years ago with Pig,
Pig was astounding.
what he did with even the movie, that comedy he did, like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is basically a comedy where he's mocking a version of himself. I think he is hitting a whole new stride right now. And Dream Scenario, this is the first A24 movie he's ever done, which just blew my mind as well. It just seems like
And it
it's
seems
a
like a
match.
good fit.
It does. And I'm not going to say much about this movie because it might come up later in the show.
No
but
spoilers.
I'm not going to. But I think it's just a fantastic role for him, and that's all I'm going to say. We'll talk more about Dream Scenario in a little bit. But yeah, all right. I want to get to our favorite female performance of the year for everyone. So, Sam, what have you got?
So for me, that would definitely be Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon, because that performance was so like raw and emotional and painful, and like I felt empathy and sadness, and she was such a like 3-dimensional real life person. I just thought that movie was brutal and spectacular in every way. So for me, I know it's kind of an obvious choice, but for me, it's just a no-brainer because I was blown away by her performance in that film.
You talk too much.
I don't talk too much. Just thinking who I got to beat in this horse race, that's all.
I didn't realize this was a race. I don't care for watching horses.
Well, I'm a different kind of horse.
Onkashi. Shomikasi Koshiajimi.
What was that?
Shomikasi. That's how you are.
I don't know what you said, but it must have been Indian for handsome devil.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
you could call it obvious, but I don't think I think it's a great choice, Sam.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
All right, Ellie.
Lily Gladstone.
Yep, 2 for Lily. That's
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, make it 3.
3, and I'm gonna make it 4.
Yeah.
Yep, and for
Uno,
all
dos,
the same
tres,
reasons.
cuatro.
Yeah,
4.
she's incredible in that film. Yeah,
Yeah, just like
and she gives a performance I think actually outshines her co-stars in that. Honestly, I think
I
she's
would agree. Yeah.
acting circles around Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio, who are both really good in it. Actually, I'll be honest, I wasn't crazy about Leonardo DiCaprio in the film. I think
I thought he was pretty good. I just because I liked. I mean, I just liked his like facial expression of like somber and like
kind of
being.
dumbfounded in that
Yeah,
movie.
I liked his half-wittedness. I thought he did that well.
Yeah, but I don't think it's anything I haven't seen from him before.
Yeah, but she was just such a
Yeah.
like you said, a fresh face, and wow.
I know what you mean. It was like Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio were good, but they were doing their thing. They were like doing their standard thing, where she was like a standout. Yeah.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
All right, so we're gonna get to supporting male performance. Sam, what have you got?
So for me, that would definitely be Robert Downey Jr. from Oppenheimer, because I'm so used to having seen him as Iron Man for like over a decade and just playing a certain type of character, even though he's been in other films. One of the best movies ever, of which was the David Fincher film Zodiac. I just absolutely love that movie, but that was years ago. But I thought his performance in Oppenheimer was incredible. I thought he just was very intense and stood out and seemed older than he was, and it was very distinct. And I think he's really got a shot at Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars. I think it was kind of a standout, intense performance of like a vicious politician, and I was highly entertained watching him the whole time, and I found it very believable. So that would be my Best Supporting Actor pick.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the highlights for Oppenheimer for me. So definitely, Ellie.
Yeah, I love D Jr., but I'm gonna go with Mark Ruffalo because he's my favorite.
Mark
nice.
Ruffalo from Poor Things.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
He played such a good fop in that movie.
Yeah, he does. There's a great scene, and not trying to steal anyone's thunder here, but where Emma Stone is dancing with some guy, and he and Mark Ruffalo like cuts in, and they start dancing, and there's this. It's just a wonderful performance that they're both have this weird thing going on, which it's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, where Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo are dancing together in that, and the expression on their faces, it's priceless. Yeah, he's so good in it.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah. B, what is your pick?
I went with Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
I wonder if his win last night at the Golden Globes is an indication, because I thought that was a little bit of an upset. I'm not nothing taken away from Robert Downey Jr. and Oppenheimer, but I would thought it was a little bit of a surprise. I don't know.
Who did you think was going to win?
I don't know. Maybe I did think it might be Gosling or the guy that I'm picking, Charles Melton.
He was awesome.
Yeah, I'm going with Charles Melton. Maybe because I thought he was such breath of fresh air. He had different because between Natalie Portman and Julia Moore, who in the movie May December, which is the movie I'm talking about, they had such an intense rivalry and energy, and there's so much passive aggressiveness going on between the two of them. That Charles Melton is like caught in the middle of that move in between these two, and he is like I can't say he's like a man child in this because who his character is. He is
stunted.
Exactly, stunted. Such it's a kind of a heartbreaking role, and he is living in two different worlds. He has almost like the mind of like a 14-year-old, but then he has to also play a father in it, and it's a
Well,
very very
that's exactly what the
nuanced
movie is about
performance.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so yeah, Charles Melton in May December. I thought was incredible performance.
That scene with him and
Yeah.
Natalie Portman on the bed when Natalie's like, "This is what grown-ups do,"
Oh,
just destroyed me.
Yeah.
May December was really good, but I liked June January better.
I don't like month movies. I didn't like May December at all.
I thought you said you liked it. No,
I actually haven't seen it, so I don't. I've not. Yeah.
No, I never did. I watched it. I got nothing out of it.
I really liked
July,
it.
February is
loved
going to
it.
be awesome. August, March. Whew. Can't believe you haven't seen that. Yeah.
So I don't even know why I was nominated for the Golden Glove, because that was surprising to me.
I thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
There's
I would have.
the layers in that movie. I mean, everyone is just like planting these emotional time bombs in that movie. All right, we're gonna move on to our supporting female
Dun,
performance.
dun.
And Sam.
So I would have to go with Divine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers. I just love that movie, and I thought her performance was very distinct, and like she seemed like a real person to me, and like I felt a lot of empathy, and just like again, it's the ability to create such a 3-dimensional, believable character that like feels like someone you know or you've seen in real life. So that was another no brainer for me. So yeah, I thought she was excellent in that film.
I heard you got stuck with babysitting duty this year. How'd you manage that?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose I failed someone who richly deserved it.
Oh, the Osgood kid? Yeah, he was a real asshole. Rich and popular combination around here.
It's a plague. And you? You'll be here too?
All by my lonesome. My little sister Peggy and her husband invited me to go visit them in Roxbury, but I feel like it's too soon. Like Curtis will think that I'm abandoning him, you know? This is the last place that my baby and I were together.
Yeah. Good pick.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie, what do you have?
I like Emily Blunt. That's why I picked. I really liked her performance in Oppenheimer.
In Oppenheimer.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent pick. And B, what was your pick?
There was a lot of good options this year. This one was kind of hard for me, but I ended up with America Ferrera from Barbie.
It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we have to always be extraordinary. But somehow we're always doing it wrong. Like, you have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women, because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood, but always stand out and always be grateful.
Nice.
Nice, yeah. My pick, I also am going with the same thing you picked, Sam, Divine Joy Randolph. It was funny when I saw this film, I immediately felt like this was the supporting performance of the year. But then I saw Ferrari, and I thought Penelope Cruz may
She was my super close second. She did so much with so little. She stole the scene. Yeah.
So I went back and forth, but now I kind of feel like, it's a safe pick to go with Divine Joy Randolph. I feel like she's everyone's like
Yeah, you're letting the Globes
jumping
get
on
to
this
ya.
bandwagon. I don't know.
You're letting the
I want to give a shout out to somebody else because I thought there were a lot of great supporting performances. One of my favorite movies this year that did not make my list was Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
Yes, wasn't that great?
Such
And
a good movie.
I didn't know you'd seen that, Nathan. I remember when I saw that in the theater, and I was like pushing you guys to go, and everyone was like,
No, it was really good.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best performances was Michelle Rodriguez in that movie.
Yeah, she was.
She was
She's awesome.
wonderful. So I just want to also point that out. That's
She was also good in Fast X. We should talk about it.
I didn't catch that one, but yeah.
Oh.
All right. So those are our acting, but we have one more. Oh, we have one more that I want us to pick in this category, and this is called our Best Newcomer Award, and this is awarded to an actor or actress that we think has a bright future. So
There's a lot of good options in this category too.
yeah,
Some good stuff.
So, Sam, do you have a pick for this?
So for this one, I don't. I am completely unprepared for this one. So many new good actors and actresses and talent. What do you guys think?
We can. You don't have to do this. You know what? That's fine.
I just was not. I have no idea. Like I'm not prepared. I was just looking, but any new voice actor in Wish is just amazing. Just amazing. Yeah.
I went with Dominic Sessa from Holdovers.
Nice. That's a good choice.
I thought he did great in that part. He was a little green, but I thought he did great. I kind of look forward to what happens next. You know, he brought so much energy to it.
That is true.
And I'm not trying to skip you, Ellie, but because B mentioned that, I am going to jump in the same bandwagon. That's the same pick I have, because I thought as well that it was kind of a raw performance, but it makes me excited for what he is going to do, because I think he's got a very, very bright future.
Yeah.
And I really can't wait to see.
I want him to hone in what he did.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of him at the Golden Globes last night? He looked like he's got these sunglasses on with his hair's all teased out, like big. He looks like a young Bob Dylan. Yeah. So yeah, Dominic Sessa is also my pick. I think the guy could be a legit A-list star.
That is now my pick as well. Woohoo! Jumped on the bandwagon, but I would not jump on the bandwagon if I didn't believe in it. So,
Ellie, what do you got?
His name is Archie, and I can't say his last name. Madwicki.
Archie. Ooh, what is it?
Archie I can't say his last name. Madwicki. He
not to be confused with Witwicky of the Transformers. Sorry.
He's in Saltburn, and he's also in Gran Turismo.
Mm-hmm.
When I told you guys that when I didn't know what Saltburn was about, and you guys mentioned Saltburn, I had no idea what it was. My first thought was it was about a seagull that got its feet stuck, and that salt like on the icy roads when they try to like,
they made
melt
that
the snow,
movie.
and they're
That's
like,
the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Archie Madekwe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't say his last name.
Madekwe?
Madekwe.
Okay.
Madekwe.
I don't know.
Madekwe.
But he is left an impression in me, and I think he's going to be great coming up. There's something about him. It's just...
I liked him much more in Saltburn, and I was not a fan of Saltburn, but I liked him much more in that than in Gran Turismo.
I have to say,
agree.
I couldn't stand him in Gran Turismo. I thought he did nothing.
Yeah.
But
he was surrounded by a lot of people who were much more experienced than him, and I think outshone him at every step. And then he was more with other newcomers in Saltburn.
Yeah. But I thought he was very good in Saltburn. He was very good in Saltburn. But yeah, I agree with you, B. It seemed like I don't know if I want to just blame the direction he was given as well, but I felt like he was just a blank canvas. And
it was the direction he was given, because Gran Turismo, if you think about it, came before Saltburn. By the time he did Saltburn, he was a way better actor in that movie.
No,
He was better actor in Saltburn.
All right. Well, those are our movie awards for acting. And yeah, that was awesome. All right. We are going to get to our top 10 films of 2023. A year ago, we did our 2023 movie forecast. And I happened to go back and listen to that episode. And I want to remind both Sam and Ellie what was on your list back then. And I'm yes.
I'm sure Mission Impossible.
No, don't.
So,
on the list.
Please.
so I'm just going to mention these titles, and
Don't.
because I want the viewers or the listeners to know what we were most excited for, and see if any of these movies ended up on our list. So those following along at home, remember these titles and see if any of them ended up on our list. Sam, the movies that you were most looking forward to in 2023 were Dune Part 2, which did not come out this year. Maybe it'll come up again.
Damn, that would have made the top. I guarantee that would have been on the top 10.
Dune?
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Nah.
Oppenheimer.
Yay.
John Wick Chapter 4.
Made it.
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Made it.
Aquaman The Lost Kingdom.
Didn't make it.
We're not talking about it.
65.
Hell no.
Super Mario Brothers movie. And Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And Ellie, the movies that you mentioned as your the movies you were most looking forward to were Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay.
80 for Brady. Magic Mike's Last Dance. Beau is Afraid. Oppenheimer. Knock at the Cabin.
Oh, God.
Leave the World Behind.
I like that one.
Yeah. Which is the title that was like, at the time was like, what is this? John Wick Chapter 4 and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah.
And the titles that I mentioned were Dune Part 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Next Goal Wins, which I never saw.
That's funny.
I guess I lost interest in it. Barbie, Renfield,
Renfield was fine.
Knock at the Cabin, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Oh, God.
God.
Knock at the Cabin that's the M. Night Shyamalan film, right?
Yes.
God,
remember that? That was
terrible.
That was our first movie.
Hey, I don't think it was terrible.
I don't think it was terrible, but like I never have any interest
We
in that.
actually went to go see it at the movie theater.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And the last thing I want to just preface before we begin is halfway through the year, we did another important list. We did our mid-year top 5 countdown. So this is something I think we should also have as a caveat as well. Ellie, halfway through the year, this was probably around the middle of June. We did our top 5 movies halfway through the year,
I remember.
And they went in this order. Your number 1 movie halfway through the year was John Wick Chapter 4.
Okay.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was number 2.
Okay.
Number 3 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 4 was Air. And number 5 was Beau is Afraid. Sam, halfway through the year, your number 1 movie was John Wick Chapter 4. Number 2 was Air. Number 3 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 4 was Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. And number 5 was Super Mario Brothers movie.
Fascinating.
And my top 5 list halfway through the year was number 1, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 2, Beau is Afraid. Number 3, Still, a Michael J. Fox movie. Number 4, Boston Strangler. And number 5 was Sisu.
Oh, dear, Sisu.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that.
Yeah. Okay, let's begin, Sam, with your number 10 movie of 2023.
So my number 10 movie of 2023 is the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I remember giving it a solid but somewhat bland review, and though I still feel the same way, I thought it was a memorable, fun blockbuster, even though it played it super safe. I actually saw it again on the road, like in a hotel room, and I was thoroughly entertained, and I enjoyed the movie, and because it was such a big blockbuster of 2023, I find it memorable. It's one of those movies that like 6, 7, 10 years from now, I would watch it again. So my number 10, Super Mario Brothers movie.
Okay. Okay, Sam. It just proves you did not see enough movies this year, I say. But you know what? I told you, my experience with this. I saw this in 4DX. And
that's right. Yeah.
I was just sprayed and blasted with chemicals and I don't know. I think Bowser farted in my face or something. I don't know what happened, but it was a disgusting experience that I cannot have back.
What cinema near you does 4DX?
Randolph Showcase.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. That was an experience.
I lost an earring there once. Randolph Showcase workers, if you're listening.
Yep. Ellie, what is your number 10?
As you all know, I like killer movies. So I love The Killer. Number 10.
Yeah, The Killer was my number. Oh, it was my number 3. I loved The Killer. I was surprised that movie surprised the hell out of me. I had zero expectations. I missed it in the theater. I was in a hotel in Canada on the road. I was like, maybe I'll watch a few minutes, and I was like hooked and blown away by that film. And like, I absolutely was surprised. I loved The Killer.
Weakness is vulnerability. Each and every step of the way, ask yourself, what's in it for me? This is what it takes. What you must commit yourself to. If you want to succeed. Simple.
It was so much funnier than I expected.
Yeah, it was intense. Like,
it was
good.
It just grabbed me from the moment I started the movie. It just grabbed me.
Yeah, that's a great choice.
And as usual, it's a David Fincher film. It's like fascinatingly shot, just the way it looked and felt. And like, I didn't realize that it was going to be like a global traveling film. I thought that Fassbender was going to be just like a creepy killer, and the whole movie was like in his basement, like it'd be some like low budget horror flick. I had no idea what to expect, and what I got was amazing.
No, he's just an average Smiths fan. You know?
Yeah. And I think one of the highlights has to be the sound design for this for me, and the soundtrack, which just slaps in this. I said that a couple months back. I remember this might be my favorite Trent Reznor Atticus Ross score, and that's I don't know, but I'm thinking about the Social Network. I love the score in this so much. I want to. I don't know where I don't
know. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
I love. They're all great. They are.
The Social Network had that amazing like I like that. Yeah.
And in a year where we had John Wick 4, this movie still has maybe my favorite fight sequence in it still.
Yes.
Wow.
And Miami at the apartment with like the
the camera shaking.
Where they're using, or Michael Fassbender is using every single thing he has at his disposal to like fight off that guy that's like twice his weight, and it was so good. So yeah, I think this movie has grown on me even more after I've seen it, because I think I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars at the time, and it probably is even better than that. I do need to see it again. B, what is your number 10?
Showing Up, the new Kelly Reichardt joint. I loved it. I absolutely love Kelly Reichardt. I love everything she puts out. And this, I thought Michelle Williams just gave an astounding, understated performance. She's barely recognizable in this film. And it stays with you. Kelly does this sort of laboriously slow pace, even for her. I thought this was slow. It was certainly slower than Fast Cow, which was her most recent film before this.
Did you say Fast Cow?
Oh, I did First Cow. I just wanted that cow to pick up the pace. Yeah, no, first cow.
I think
But
this
she's-
is this in the Fast the Furious universe too?
Oh, I would
Fast,
totally
Fast
see
Cow is
that
the sequel
mashup.
to Wish coming out next year.
It's funny. Yeah, no, I thought it was a great movie. I thought it was awesome. But I love everything she does. She's one of my favorite directors. So.
Awesome. Yeah. I really enjoyed Showing Up as well. That's also was outside of my top 10 just by a couple. It was really good.
Mm.
Yeah. My number 10 was Godzilla -1. Which I think also is shared by a few others on here. I think Ellie, this is your number 9, and Sam, this is your number 7. So this was a very popular film for all of us. I love this movie because I think it's, well, here's what I will say. I think this is the spiritual sequel to Oppenheimer. It's the day after movie. After the U.S. has dropped the bomb, it creates the giant green lizard, and it goes out to destroy Japan all over again.
There you go.
It is a perfect double feature. And this movie was done on a $15 million budget, which is just mind blowing.
Wow, I did not know that. That's amazing. Holy
Yeah. And what's also amazing is this is a 70-year-old franchise, and you think you've seen every iteration of the story and the creature, but no, they take this franchise to heights I never thought was possible. But you know, like I was saying, you know, as well, you know, we'll get into Oppenheimer, I know, later, but you know, that movie kind of left me feeling a little cold. You know, imagine that. You know, Christopher Nolan film that, you know, left me a little emotionally empty. Not all of his films, but a trendy amount of them. But I felt the complete opposite here. I love that we are on the ground level dealing with the fallout of the same atomic bomb that devastated Japan. So that's what I felt. I felt that human connection that Oppenheimer kind of left me missing. So you can't compare these two movies necessarily, but I think they're
No, you can't compare them.
But you kind of can, because they're you know, I think you to some degree you can, because I felt that
Nathan's universe, I guess we can.
I like to think these movies are in the same universe.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I want to say about Godzilla -1. Anyone else would like to say anything?
I'm just mad I haven't seen it yet.
I just liked the tone of it, the tonality, and the story, and like the characters were really compelling, and it was like a slow burn with some fascinating action sequences. So I definitely enjoyed it.
I was against
standout for sure.
I was against watching this movie for so long, and I have to say thank you to my kid, because he pushed me to see it, and I was not disappointed at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is heart to the movie that I was not expecting. I thought it was just going to be some monster movie like others I've seen, but it was so much more than just a monster, you know, destroying Japan.
Yep.
True.
I want to also cue in somebody else that has something they would like to say possibly about Godzilla.
Hey everyone, Mark the Movie Man here from the Spoiler Room Podcast, the Final Cut Review Show, and many other things over at SpecialMarkProductions.com. And I've been asked to share what my top pick was for 2023 as far as films, and that is Godzilla -1. I'm a big kaiju fan, okay, and I do love my Godzilla films, and I figured I'd go in and just get to see some Godzilla fun on the big screen, something we don't get too often, though more in recent years, but still not as much as many of us would like to see big monsters on the big screen. So I figured, okay, I'll get my dose of Godzilla and I'll be happy. But what I ended up getting from director Takashi Yamazaki, who also wrote this, is also not just a Godzilla film, but an insightful, moving, emotional, and social commentary film that explores a number of aspects from the Japanese perspective, that something that we don't normally see here in the Western films. I mean, the hype is real for this film, and I don't think anybody was expecting this to even be in the conversation of a best picture for the year, but it's on the top list of many people's, not at the very top necessarily, but it is in the top 10, and that's something that warms my heart as a kaiju lover. Thank you again, all. And yeah, here's to 2024, and hopefully we get another panel of great films.
No. Thank you, Mark Krawcheck. Mark, as you know, was a frequent guest all of last year, and we look forward to having him back on the show in 2024. That was his number one movie for 2023.
I was surprised he didn't pick 65, but
we move on to our number 9 picks. So, Sam, what have you got?
So my number 9 is Air. I liked this movie a lot. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and I thought it was really well done. It came out early on in the spring, and I just like the tonality. I know it came out on streaming shortly after, but I was really glad to have seen it in the theater. I like the story of trying to like rep Michael Jordan. I just liked I found the whole package of the film fun and well done. And for those of you that haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. Came out early in the year, but it was definitely a strong film in my opinion. I would give it 4 stars, easy.
All right.
Air
good.
was the first episode of this podcast I listened to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
became an instant fan. Then she called me up like, Nathan, how do I get on this podcast?
I have to join these incredible people.
Listeners, what you're hearing is documentary footage of me.
All right. That was I remember Air, and I remember the egregious use of needle drops. And I feel like I remember it being just about a movie of guys talking on phones. I'm trying to what else, Sam?
Yeah, but then BlackBerry came out, and that was a bunch of guys talking on phones.
Yep. And the movie was I thought it was fine. I thought it was fine. I remember it being the most 80s movie I'd seen since all year. My only issue really was, I mean, it was fine, but my only issue was that I didn't feel like there was enough tension in this, because we all know that Michael Jordan and Nike both make a shit ton of money at the end of the day. So, but yeah.
Sam,
anyways,
I'm sorry.
I thought there was a lot of tension. I really liked the film. I disagree with that. I'm sorry you don't like my number 9 and 10, but yeah, I did enjoy it a lot. So
I do like Matt Damon in it.
Yeah,
he was good. Yes,
he was.
Yeah. We are going to do B's number 9.
Barbie, baby.
Bobby.
I thought it was great. I actually just did a rewatch of Barbie, and I think it's even better on the rewatch. I think since it came out, it's sort of been clouded over by Oppenheimer a little bit, as they're sort of talked about together since that kind of programming was so successful. But I just think you can't ignore how impressive that movie is, and I think people's reviews of it and ratings of it are sort of couched in how they felt about the message, whether they thought it was too heavy-handed or wasn't quite progressive enough. But really, just to look at it as a feat of filmmaking, it's so well done, and it's just so big in scope. The sets in that movie, the performances, the diversity in that movie, the music in that movie, like there's so much attention to detail.
Yes.
It's really just kind of pitch perfect for what it wanted to be. And I just think it's just so impressive. And I really like Greta Gerwig, and I'm excited for her Narnia, which is supposed to come out. I want to see some more original stuff from her. I thought Lady Bird was great, and she's done this IP stuff a few times now, and I want to see something new. But I thought Barbie was just so big in scale, so big in scope. Hard to ignore.
I really liked Barbie too. But I need to share one thing though, because as popular as this movie is, it's funny because it also saddens me when I talk about how funny it is to a certain demographic. Let's call
Mm-hmm.
them white men over 40 who drive only American cars. And uh, occasionally, when I get into conversations with these friends of mine,
Mm-hmm.
and and I bring up movies that we watched, and they always just say how stupid this movie is. And I can't help but interject and ask them, well, have you seen it? And none of them have.
Ugh.
And then I foolishly try to explain that is probably the funniest movie I saw all year. And I start
It's so funny.
and I start quoting lines from it like Mojo Dojo Casa House and horses are just men extenders. And I realized that the cause is just hopeless. So but
It's a bummer, and they did such a great job at not leaking anything. Like, it's for
yeah,
how huge this movie was. It was so tightly wrapped,
yeah.
and so no one really knew that it would be. I mean, there were rumors on the internet. People were speculating when the first teaser came out that it would be about what it was about. But I think the average moviegoer, was so surprised by that they didn't really. I think it deserves a rewatch.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a phenomenon. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And it's got this bonkers performance from Ryan Gosling in it.
And
And
Margot
and
Robbie.
and yep, and Weird Barbie from Kate McKinnon. And
I only went to go see it because of Ryan Gosling. That's all.
yep. I like Will Ferrell as the CEO of Mattel and this like
Dude,
really
Will
classic turn,
Ferrell, he's
and Michael Cera as Alan. Michael Cera actually has been in 2 scene-stealing roles this year, both in Barbie and in Dream Scenario, where he plays this advertising agency rep. So this is the year of
Typecasting.
Michael Cera. I'm telling you.
I thought the casting was great. Issa Rae was great. Emerald Fennell gets a little
Mhm.
cameo in it as one of the Barbies. She's Midge, I think, which is hilarious. It's great casting all around.
Yeah.
Margot is such a down to earth girl. It's just and so beautiful. So I love her.
My number 9 pick is Poor Things.
Good movie.
Wedderburn became much weepy and sweary when he discovered my whoring.
I find myself merely jealous of the men's time with you, rather than any moral aspersion against you. It is your body, Bella Baxter, yours to give freely.
I generally charged 30 francs.
Well, that seems low.
This is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, who I don't think I have not loved one of his movies. No, I don't think I have. I actually wasn't crazy about The Lobster. I need to watch that again though. But
Dude, The Lobster's so good.
it's
But you haven't seen like Kinetter, the super early
I haven't
ones,
seen like
right?
the early stuff yet, or
Yeah.
short films. But this is the most recent film of his. Like I said, I typically love all of these, and I don't know. I just found the world that the worlds he creates just so lush. I avoided pretty much all of the marketing heading into this film. I honestly knew nothing about it besides that Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe were in it. That's all I really knew about it. And the thing with Lanthimos, I have such confidence in him as a director that I just want to go in blind and be dazzled by whatever world and story he wants to tell me. So there are several other directors I feel that way about. Maybe Alex Garland is another one. But I was just surprised how referential this was to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I knew nothing until I went into what it was going to be. And it's really just a feminist origin story of Frankenstein's monster, and to simplify it. But it's more than that, obviously. But yeah, I really love this.
I liked it too. It's my number 5 for the year. I thought it was great. It didn't knock, I think, The Favorite or Killing of a Sacred Deer out for me in terms of Lanthimos movies, but I thought it was beautiful. And like you said, Nathan, the world building around it. I mean, the sort of like Technicolor, vibrant steampunk fantasy was just super interesting.
Yeah. And Ellie, where is this on your list?
Number 3.
So this is your third pick.
Because, first of all, Emma, an amazing actress in this film, and I totally get her character. And in a way, I think there's one of us, that character, we carry that in ourselves at some point or another. I know I did. I have. And I connected to that character in so many levels. And the best part is that she don't give a F what she does. And I love that because I don't give an F about what I do. I do as I please. And there's an innocence to this woman. And I think that there's an innocence in all of us that, uh, when you're a child, you're innocent, and then you grow up to be an adult and you lose it. And she becomes an adult and she has not lost it. And it's important not to lose that part of you that's innocent, that keeps you grounded. And I love the character. I love what she stands for. And that's why it's my number 3. It could have easily been my number 1, but I have another one.
Okay. All right, very good. All right. I think we are moving on to our number 8 picks. Sam, what have you got?
Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I thought it was really well done, very funny, and surprisingly well drawn characters. And came out early in the year, but definitely enjoyed it a lot. So that would be my number 8 for sure.
Sam, I'm so glad you put this on the list because it's a sleeper, but it was super solid.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just funny and well done, and like I definitely enjoyed it. Hugh Grant was a great villain. The cast, Michelle Rodriguez, like Chris Pine, everyone just like the movie shined for what it was trying to achieve.
It's the kind of movie where I'm like, pump one of these out a year.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want a sequel.
Yeah.
Once the dead man is revived, we can ask him 5 questions, at which point he will die again, never to be re-revived.
Were you killed in the Battle of the Everhorse?
Yes.
4 more questions, right?
Yes.
No, that wasn't for you. Did that count as a question?
Yes.
Damn it. Only answer when I talk to you, okay?
Yes. Why did you say okay at the end of that? I didn't.
Fantastic. Where's the shovel?
I'm also glad you put this on here because I think this kind of didn't get a fair shake somehow because this should have, I think, been a bigger hit.
Yeah.
In the theater. I think modern fantasy in general is riddled with this need to be serious and violent.
Yes.
And case in point, like Lord of the Rings, we had like Clash of the Titans remakes, Warcraft, Gods of Egypt, Prince of Persia. I think the list goes on and on.
I wouldn't mix Lord of the Rings in with those other
Well, I mean,
films, but I know what you're saying.
There's a fun adventure, but it's serious movies for the most part, and they're
yeah.
But having a film like this that isn't necessarily really an outright comedy, but manages to strike a balance of humor, action, adventure, and compelling characters, I think is such a breath of fresh air. And I think that's why this movie is just striking a tone that you don't see much. And it saddened me that people didn't flock to this more when this came out. I hope it's doing well on Prime Video. Because I think this was a lot of fun. I
think it's got the makings of like a cult classic.
Yeah, I just hope they make more of them with this cast. I want Chris Pine to play this role for like another 2 or 3 movies. I think he's.
I would love to.
This was his wheelhouse. So we'll see what happens. Ellie, what is your number 8?
Bill is Afraid.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with this movie. There's nothing wrong with this movie. It's just I have other ones, but I love Joaquin and I love the movie. The emotional part of the movie, it touched me as a mom because I don't understand why a mother would treat their kid the way that this mom did, Bill. And so I cry for Bill. I loved it. Just a great movie.
Yeah, I think even after 8 months or so after I saw this, I still think about this movie a lot. It's it was just so bonkers. I mean, I don't know. I think this is streaming on Paramount Plus right now. So I mean, I think I really encourage people to see this. But was afraid was, I ate up every minute of this movie
Mm.
when it came out. And this, by the way, this is my number 7 pick.
Mm.
So I'll jump ahead here a little bit. It I don't know. It's about a man who's just riddled with anxiety, who embarks on a journey or an odyssey to make it home to his mother, and along the way, he has like these side quests. Ari Aster, one of the most audacious and deranged movies I think he's done since. I mean, I loved Midsummer and Hereditary, so I think those movies go places, and this movie is right up there with it. So I don't know. I'm hearing a little bit of Oscar buzz for Joaquin Phoenix for his performance for Napoleon, but I actually think this is the one that really is the one
Yeah.
that is the better performance easily for
I
me.
disagree.
Yeah.
I hated this movie. I'm sorry. It did not do anything for me. I know when we last talked about it, I was like, I don't really know how I feel about it. And the more I sit with it, the more I'm just like, this is just.
I can't talk.
haven't
I
seen
shouldn't
it.
talk
Yeah,
because I haven't
have
seen
not seen the
Napoleon yet.
film.
Yeah, it's. I was so not into it and not into anything that he was trying to say. Yeah.
That is a shame.
That is
Yeah,
a,
I
that
couldn't,
is
and I really
that
and I
is
like
the
Ari Aster.
shame.
I mean, I like Ari Aster a lot. I loved Hereditary. I enjoyed Midsummer quite a bit.
But that's
But
the beauty of film. Not everybody's gonna like your film, so
yeah. I thought the second act where he's in the woods and there's that sort of dream sequence where he sees himself in place. I thought that was really beautifully done. I think that was probably like the redeeming part of it for me, but of course it's about not the movie. So yeah, I don't know. Wasn't for me. Give him the Oscar for Napoleon. Give him the Oscar for his anti-performance. I was into that.
Well, B, what do you have for your number 8? Since we're on to I think
Great
what you're
question.
about to-
It's
yeah.
Napoleon. It's the other Joaquin. He's great though, and I love that he's just doing these big. I mean, he's always done these big projects that he just wants to do, and it's fun to follow his career.
I found the crown of France in the gutter. I picked it up with the tip of my sword and cleaned it and placed it atop my own head.
But Napoleon was cool, man. Napoleon was so good. There were scenes in that movie where I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this on film before.
See, that's what I keep hearing. Damn it, I got to see that film. Yeah,
It was so great, and it was so funny, and it was sardonic, and it was just I look forward to the longer cut. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah,
Nice.
4-hour cut coming on to Apple soon.
This is my Justice League.
All right, I'll get to my number 8, which is a movie that was on my top 5 halfway through the year. No, actually, no, it wasn't on my top 5, but it was a movie that came out earlier this year. I'm sorry, I'm getting two things mixed up. But it's Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I got to first address the Guy Ritchie of it all, because he's a director that showed up on the scene in the late 90s, hot as hell, blew up Hollywood with back-to-back crime comedies, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch. 2 films I consider to be near masterpieces of their
Snatch
genre.
is awesome.
Had a couple missteps along the way probably ever since he was given a blank check to direct some big tentpole films that some I felt were paint by numbers. I'm looking at you, Sherlock Holmes, and Aladdin.
Oh my God, I love Sherlock Holmes.
It's good, but I felt like it was just like, here's a bunch of money, just go ballistic. And it doesn't.
I enjoyed the second one as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel like Ritchie best operates when he's working with limitations. And give this guy $25-30 million to make quirky crime comedies, and I'm a happy moviegoer. So when this movie, I never would have expected to be in my top 10 of the year, because it's nothing like nothing he's done before. If you missed this, it stars Jake Gyllenhaal, and I think it's Dar Salim, and it's about an Army Green Beret who is wounded while fighting in Afghanistan, and a local interpreter risks his life and his family's life to drag him by any means back to safety across the desert wasteland. It's just a riveting suspense story. It's also heartwarming. Um, I threw this in one night expecting a very run of the mill action military war story. I never expected where it turned out to be one of a great movie about humanity and friendship. So I just highly recommend this. So yeah. Yep. So
I had forgotten that even happened. So thanks for throwing it back on my radar.
Came
'cause
and
I wanna
went.
see it.
All right, we're gonna do our number 7. So Sam, you already Godzilla -1 was already mentioned as your number 7.
that's
Ellie,
it.
what is your number 7?
Saltburn.
And here he is now. We were just talking about
Don't
you.
be silly. Farley, you just make up the most awful things. Of course we weren't. Hello, Oliver, darling. Oh, beautiful eyes. Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, I told you it wasn't a Minga.
Oh, but darling, you're kind about everyone. You can't be trusted.
I know some people think it's grotesque and pervasive and name everything. But I find this movie extremely sad and heartbreaking for the character who happens to, I think in my opinion, is a psychopath anyway, but tactfully, this guy, what's his name? The actor there. He did the Banshees of the Banshees movie there. I think he's a great actor, but for me, this movie,
Barry Keoghan.
yes, Barry. If you look at this movie from the point of view of, oh, it's gross, what am I looking? Yeah, it's a train wreck. The whole movie is a train wreck. Okay, it's like a roller coaster. But it's artistry. It's art in that movie. There's so much art in the movie, and you have to have an artistic mind and open mind to see it for what it is. And I think it didn't do so well. Or I don't know how well it did, but I know that a lot of people found it offensive. Obviously, if you have a close mind, you're gonna find anything offensive. Even the sex scenes in this movie are not offensive to me, because think about, this man is in love with he's obviously, he loves men, and he's in love with a man that's straight. And the bathtub scene where he licks the bathtub after he's done with the shower and done his orgasm in there, and when he dies and he goes to the grave and has sex on top of the grave. I mean, for anyone else that would be like grotesque, right? But I get it. He's in love with him, and it's heartbreaking that he never got to show this love to him, and he will never do it because it's gone, because he killed him at the end of the day. So I love, there's a love story within this movie. It's a roller coaster of artistry, and I loved every single bit of this movie. I truly enjoyed it, even the grotesque parts.
It's a good pick. I was mostly positive on it, but yeah, I'm still kind of digesting it. B, you've got a number 7 pick for us, right?
I do. I went with Past Lives. I thought it was beautiful, directed by Celine Song, of course. This movie is like linen. Like, it's just so delicate and beautiful, and it's wrenching, but it's just so feather in its touch, and I just thought it was really a touching time watching it. I just thought it was great, and the performances are outstanding from everyone. So I think definitely keep an eye on it. I know it got a lot of praise. I know I'm probably in the minority just because I have it as low as I do, but I could not have it on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Really intimate and special.
Ellie, is this still on your list? I know you moved some
Yeah.
things around.
As for me, it's my number, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4 movie. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was well done, and I thought that I love the love story. I love the immigrant story behind. I think whenever there's a movie where there's you know any immigrants coming into this country, I connect with it, and it was well done. It's a love story, really, that basically goes nowhere after a while, but it's more about the friendship of these woman and man, and I think that you know uh yeah, we all have that one friend that moves away, and we loved, but it didn't happen. So yeah,
And we change.
Yeah.
And Greta Lee just does, amazing.
yeah, it's a really well done movie. Yeah, I liked it.
All right, great. Before we go on to our 7th pick, we just want to hear from friend of the show, Brian Scuttle, with his number 1 pick of 2023.
Hello, this is Brian Scuttle with Sonic Cinema, and I am presenting my favorite film of the year. And it's funny because of the fact that it was a film that I actually saw on the last day of the year, but in the week since I've seen it, it really connected with me on an emotional level. And that is Wim Wenders' Perfect Days. This film is about people who do jobs that many people don't necessarily think of except to think of them in derisive terms. And I really, really love that. And this speaks about the type of passion for a job as well as the type of work ethic that one must go to perform certain tasks. And I really was quite taken by this film. It was a beautiful film. And when it comes out in February from Neon, I certainly hope that people will take the chance to watch it because it is really a beautiful film, and it's probably one of Wim Wenders' best films. So those are my thoughts on Wim Wenders' Perfect Days, my favorite film of 2023.
All right.
That is one of my most anticipated for next year. I love Wim Wenders.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on to our number 6 picks. We're going to start off with Sam again. What do you got?
So my number 6 would be Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. It filled the action quotient of the year for me and had some really good stunts. There was a little bit of a pandemic issue with some scenes seemed like they were filmed in a vacuum, but I thought it was one of the best of the series. And the motorcycle stunt at the end was sort of given away a little bit too much in the trailers, so that was a bit deflated. But other than that, it really fulfilled the action movie quotient for me this year. So that would be number 6.
All right, cool. Did anyone else see this?
I haven't seen it.
I have. I did. Mission Impossible was off the chain. But yeah, I loved it.
I think I'm going to wait to see. This is funny. I think I'm going to wait to see it until part 2 comes out because I feel like I heard that it leaves on a big cliffhanger. And that bothers me. So I think I want to see them back to back. If I'm going to
that's cheating.
Well, since I'm not going to see it in the theater, I might as well wait. It's not like I'm in a major rush, so I think I'm going to wait. So anyways, who's next here? So Ellie, grace us with your number 5 pick.
Number 6.
Number 6 pick. Sorry.
John Wick 4. Chapter 4.
Yes, that was my 5. Don't have to talk. Awesome. Yeah.
One thinks he can serve his way out. One thinks he can buy his way out. And one thinks he can kill his way out. Each of them all thinks that they have the winning hand. But what they fail to realize is that the moment they took a seat at the table.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If you didn't make your 10 list, boo-hoo. I thought
Action,
boom,
action quotient. That's why it's above Mission Impossible.
action,
Spectacular.
Keanu. I'm in love with Keanu. I'm in love with Keanu. I'm in love with Keanu. Okay. Okay, I will watch anything Keanu makes. But aside that, John Wick Chapter 4 was, I think, I don't know, I kind of like, it's one of the best, um, John Wicks I've seen, I feel, now that
I
I
think
think
it's
about it.
I think it's really one of the greatest action films
Yeah.
ever made.
Yeah,
in
like,
in general.
because Hollywood hasn't done any great action films. When then comes John Wick Chapter 4, and I'm like, hello, everything from the car scenes to like the disco, the whatever, the club scene. Come on, I mean, like, the music, yeah, and even the end of the film for me was very emotional. I did cry because the thought of it being the last one, it just really made me cry. So, yeah, take it away, Sam.
Well,
No, that was it. That
Oh,
was good. Yeah.
I just the last thing I just want to say is I just really like how every film in this franchise, I think it's really good, and it's raised the stakes each time,
yeah.
but it hasn't lost its focus. It's never really gone off the rails.
Mm.
There's so yeah, and by the way, Chad, it's a Stel Helsky, I think is the director.
Mm.
He's slated to produce and direct a reboot of Highlander. I think is the next project he's going to do, which is interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, good pick. I need to. Yeah, I want to. I want to watch it again. I want to see all the John Wicks like one day. And
We
that
did.
that might be John Wick overload, but it's
No.
kind of my dream is to like watch all four of them in one sitting.
We did. Carlos and I did that.
Oh man. Okay. Sixth pick to be.
Anatomy of a Fall. I had been waiting for this one for a while. My list sounds really boring compared to John Wick. It's just mostly people talking, but I thought this was rife with tension and incredible performances all around. Even the dog. It was a perfect setting. I like these films that could be plays. They're just very two specific sets, small sets. It adds to the claustrophobia of the whole thing and the tension of the subject. I thought it was wonderful.
I really like this too. This won the Palme d'Or a can last spring.
Yeah, because I have great taste, Nathan.
Yeah, I thought this was solid. Great dog acting.
I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, the only thing I liked about this Anatomy of a Fall was the dog. Other than that, and I didn't get it. I
thought it was awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people did like it, but yeah, I actually almost fell asleep on it too. So,
well, I really like this movie, and it sat right outside my top 10. What kept it aside was probably just one thing. It was one of the last films I got in before compiling this list, and I've been dealing with my fair share of trauma and friends, fellow co-hosts, friends, Romans, countrymen. I'm telling you. My cup has runneth over with stories of grief and trauma of 2023. I feel like there's been so many movies.
Yeah, maybe you
And
should make your own movie.
I know I'm mixing up my quotes here, but like, man, like I was pummeled this year with people that were just traumatized and depressed, and I think I watched this and I was just like, man, I wasn't in the right headspace for it. And I realized I felt like I was watching a great film, but I needed to be in a different headspace for it, for sure. But I just loved what the message of this movie was. And we talked offline a couple of days ago about this. And I don't think this movie is necessarily about whether this woman did this murder or not. I mean, that's what the movie is about. I'm not giving away anything here, but it's really just about, can you make it decide what this marriage is about just by listening to a 5-minute audio tape.
It's the court of public opinion.
Exactly.
That's on trial in this movie.
It's really a riveting study of that, which I found very, very moving and interesting. So it's
And
I was
Sandra Hüller, wow.
yeah.
I had never seen her in anything before.
No.
And now I just want to see everything she's ever been in.
Yeah. So yeah, really liked it. I need to watch it again when on a cheery spring day, perhaps. I don't know. All right, we're gonna move on to our. No, I have to do my number 6 pick. There's so many movies. Right, I'm losing track. My number 5 movie of 2023 was 6 movie. Sorry, 6 movie was May December from Todd Haynes.
Also great.
And what's it like with Georgie, your friendship?
I haven't really talked to Georgie much since then.
Georgie's very sensitive. He always was very, very sensitive. What's your relationship like with him and your other kids?
How is that relevant? It's my understanding that the movie takes place between 1992 and 1994. Am I wrong? So why would you need to know anything that happened after that?
Well, there are things that exist inside people that don't necessarily come to head until later, and I try and look for the seeds of those things.
Of course I talked to Georgie and to Billy and Cassidy. I'm their mom.
The reason May December makes my list is for a couple of reasons. It's got what I feel is the best acting tandem of the year with both Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman in 2 of the most juiciest performances of the year. These 2 are in full melodrama mode. The passive aggressiveness they are putting out there hasn't come off me in over 30 showers. It's really May December is very loosely based on a true story about a middle-aged female school teacher who has an affair with a 7th grade boy. Authorities find out about them. She gets incarcerated, but when she gets out, they continue their relationship and they start a family. It's messed up. And in this film, Natalie Portman, she portrays like this Hollywood actress who is going on to play the woman who had the affair with the student, and she visits the family to research the role. And it's so what's really messed up. So what's really messed up is the boy who was 14 is now a 35-year-old man, and her and Julianne Moore have children. And the oldest is about to graduate high school, which adds such an interesting dynamic to his character because his childhood, his innocence was ripped away from him. And he's now torn between these 2 worlds. And that's played by Charles Melton, who I already told you before was my supporting male performance of the year. He's amazing. He's basically kind of like this man child, but he's torn between these worlds. He's the reason to watch this movie in a lot of ways. Like I said, characters are planting emotional time bombs. There's so many layers to this film. Natalie Portman is an actress just portraying a woman who left her life, her husband, her family for a 14-year-old boy. This movie's just insane. I love this film, and I love the lens that Todd Haynes has for this movie. I think it's just incredibly gorgeous film, and has a lot to say. There's so many layers to this movie.
I agree. I thought it was awesome.
I didn't like it. Sam, did you see it?
Which movie?
Let's talk about May December. It's okay.
Haven't seen it. No.
Yeah. It's streaming on Netflix.
Nice.
Yeah. Ellie, we're going to go to you. Your number 5, actually, your number 5 movie.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes, that was my number 4.
It's shared to spoil everything else, but we're just for time's sake, was also my number 1 movie.
My number 1.
And B's number 1 movie. So we can all share our thoughts on this film now. But you can start, Ellie.
Well, the only reason it's in number 5 is because I didn't put it in number 3. Okay, I don't know. Uh, it's because, oh God, there's another movie in number one. But if that other movie wasn't a number one this year, it would have taken number one. But this movie is based on a real story of the Osage women and what they went through. And for me, I was angry, I cried, and I
Mhm.
was happy at the very end. I'm glad that Scorsese decided to tell the story along with DiCaprio, and I'm glad that they brought in an actual indigenous woman to portray the women.
Mhm.
That is no longer someone painted with a brown tint portraying an indigenous person. This is huge in my heritage. Especially huge that Lily won the glove yesterday, and I am really looking forward to getting to seeing her grabbing the Oscar, because many years ago, and I can't remember the year, but there was Marlon Brandon
Mhm.
brought in an indigenous woman to take over to speak for the
Yes.
Oscar, and she was booed off the stage. And I think she might have been hit on the face at one point for someone, I forget who it was. To today, I say this is a huge moment in the history of filmmaking. And I don't want to say Hollywood because I don't really care about Hollywood, but in filmmaking, um, to give Native Americans, I don't want to call them Native Americans, we don't like to be called Native Americans, but indigenous people, to bring them to the screen, because there's so much talent in the indigenous race. There's so much talent out there. There's so many stories yet to be told. This is not the first one, and I hope it's not the only one. And I think from here, I hope there's more to be told, and more indigenous people used in Hollywood, and in not Hollywood, in films. I just think that their time is coming, and I am beside myself with this whole movie. I think it was well done. Scorsese did a great job with the movie. And I really think that Lily carried the story in this movie. I feel
Yes.
like she really
Absolutely.
was the star of this film. And we know Leo is a big star, but Lily changed the whole tone of the movie for me. Without Lily, it wouldn't have been the same for me.
Shows itself to you that Bill Smith didn't take the proper care of Minnie the way he could have. To have her sick and die, take her head rights and her land. That oil, which should go to her sister as your wife, well, he's taking money that by rights should go to Molly. The mother, Lizzie.
He's not in good shape.
She won't last. Most Osage don't live past 50. With these women dying, with how Osage suffer from illness, you have to make it the head rights come to you. You see?
I just thought this was so well done.
It really was, yeah.
It's a terrifying story, but Scorsese, I think, really leaned on other people, and I think the performances are incredible. I love the end. I think the end had some people, it was maybe a little bit divisive, but I thought it was wonderful and beautiful. And I'm glad this story is being told, but I love the way that it was told. And I think I don't think it was too long. I think it needed that time to breathe.
Mhm.
And I think it needed that time for the grief to soak in to it. And I think half the people who are complaining about the runtime didn't complain about the runtime for The Irishman. So get over it.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, remember, they
True
watched
that.
The Irishman at home where they could pause it. That's why.
Yeah, right.
I agree with everyone's sentiment so far here. You know, the only thing I want, it's not a complaint at all, but I wish, and this is just because it was necessary for the narrative, but Lily was so amazing in this film that I was kind of saddened that because of the way the story is, she had to take sort of a back seat in the second half of this movie.
Yeah, you feel her absence.
You do. And that didn't hurt the movie, but I felt, like you said, I felt the absence of her because of the way the story unfolds. And the only other thing I want to say is that the incredible score from legendary composer, musician Robbie Robertson, who we sadly lost earlier this year. This is my favorite score of the year. I kind of wanted it to win last night, but it didn't. That's okay. But
You'll get him next time, Nathan.
Yeah, we'll get him next time. But he also collaborated with Scorsese on The Color of Money, Raging Bull, and The Irishman as well. He was famously known for being in the band, which is I really loved as well. But this is great score.
Great movie.
Yeah. All right.
It's definitely gonna make history with the indigenous people.
Absolutely.
And just for me and for any other person in this heritage, I think we're celebrating like we won the glove. we're like, oh yeah, I think I was drinking, like jumping up and down. I'm like, I could literally take a wine glass now, okay? I didn't, but it's a win for me too, just to see it.
Great victory, yeah. All right. I'm going to mention my number 5 film, which is still a Michael J. Fox movie. It's directed by Davis Guggenheim. One of my biggest regrets of the past year is that I didn't watch enough documentaries. I usually watch about a dozen or so. I barely watched any last year. And I like to do our 2024 movie resolutions some point. And this is something that I think will be in my list to correct. However, one of the few I did see last year was this film. And this was incredible. Davis Guggenheim also did a couple from a few years ago. You probably have heard of Inconvenient Truth, which was one that was very well known. And he also did Waiting for Superman, which was this examination of our education system, which was a real eye opener. This was in my mid-year top 5 back in June. This is incredible. I never knew I needed this movie, but I really did. It's heartbreaking. Here is a man who was on top of the world after the second and third Back to the Future films. And it was very shortly after that he learned about this diagnosis of Parkinson's. In this film, you see him dealing with his daily routine. Nothing is sugarcoated. The man is in pain. He's open about it. And as you watch this, you realize, what a treasure he is. And we're likely, we need to appreciate what we have now, because nobody knows for sure how long he's going to be around and what the future holds for him. It really doesn't look great. I know I'm painting a bleak picture, but I don't want to detour people from watching this. But the truth is, it is a difficult movie to watch, but in many ways it's because of the subject matter, but it is an important film. After you watch it, you really do gain a greater perspective on life and possibly the many things that we take for granted. So,
just before the start of the season, Steven sent me a copy of this script. Whenever Gary said Steven, I knew he meant Spielberg. Steven wanted you for the lead role. They came to me asking if there was any way I could let you out of the show. I didn't mention it to you then because it was just impossible. They started shooting a couple of months ago with Eric Stoltz, but they don't think he's the right fit for the role. It's gonna be expensive, but they want to reshoot all of his stuff. My head was spinning. Anything else? You're not gonna miss an hour of work on the show. The deal was made. A Teamster driver would pick me up at 9:30 a.m. and take me to Paramount, where I would spend the day shooting Family Ties.
This has already won Critics' Choice for Best Director for a Documentary Feature, so it's getting some praise already.
That's awesome.
The thing that really makes this incredible, that makes it special as a documentary, as well as the way that they do it. They use all this archival footage as Michael is narrating the story. So you see the movies, the TV shows, even commercial and TV spots that he's done over the years. And they're using that to show his story. So they use like recreations and things like that. It's really a brilliant way for him to tell a story. I've never seen it done before, and it just really needs to be seen to be fully comprehended. So I highly recommend it. So it's on Apple TV Plus right now. So yeah, my number 5. Okay. Before we get to number 4, I have two special guests that really, really have been waiting a whole year to share something on the podcast.
Hi, this is Chloe, Nathan's daughter. So today my dad asked me to do a number 1 review of 2023 films. So my number 1 movie of 2023 was Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. I'm a big Swiftie, like a big one. So I loved singing along to the songs and listening to it. And now, I love watching something and listening to music, so now I have both. Yeah, thanks, bye.
Hello, my name is Scarlett. I am Nathan's other daughter. My dad asked if I could do this thing where if I could say when what my favorite movie is from 2023. And my favorite movie was Trolls Band Together. I liked it because I liked when I saw Baby Branch. It was very cute, but it was also very weird when I saw him. That's it. Bye.
They have great choices.
Adorable. Oh, goodness. Yes, they do.
They've been waiting all year to be on the pod. So there they go.
Yes,
That's
I like their picks.
Yeah, plus, no, there's a business side of this that we need to reach a whole new demographic. You know, that's what this is really about. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's not the last time.
All right. Believe it, we're gonna turn this into a family-friendly kids movie-only podcast.
Back to the Wiggles.
Yeah,
we don't even swear in this podcast.
All right, we're gonna do our number 4 picks. Sam he's already picked Killers of the Flower Moon. Ellie, you've already picked Poor Things, but B, what is your number 4?
Probably contentious among this crowd, but I went with Asteroid City. I just was totally blown away by it. I went to go see it in New York at the Angelica, which is not a theater that I'm usually thrilled by, but even that couldn't deter me from really, really just loving this movie. I like Wes. I'm on board for all his idiosyncrasies and his tweeness. I think it all serves a purpose, and I think style is substance. And I think this was a really wonderful, magical movie about grief and sort of who you transform into in the wake of the grief and the existentialism that you can grapple with and that gnaws at you when you're suffering through that, even if it's the grief for the loss of yourself or the loss of what you feel like is your potential or the loss of a loved one. And I thought this was just so wacky in places, and it was touching in places, and it just hit all the right beats for me.
As you know, boys and girls, your parents arrived late last night by military helicopter. They've been sequestered in that metal hut over there for the past several hours while the government scientists explain the situation to them, although everything's already in the newspapers. It's my understanding they're about to go into this closed-circuit television set at any moment.
Everything's connected, but nothing's working.
Let's carry on with the lesson plan, then. Billy?
I did the aliens flying saucer with the hubcap and a chicken pot pie tin.
Good work. Very accurate. Jupiter, 5th planet from the sun, largest in our solar system. Yes, Bernice?
I did the alien on his home planet.
Well done. How wonderful. Due to extreme atmospheric conditions, an anticyclonic storm has raged on Jupiter's surface for over... Yes, Dwight?
I wrote a song about him.
Oh, this may not be the time for a musical performance.
I guess I'll just say that I thought this was okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. It was mid-tier Wes Anderson for me, which is an improvement over some of his recent films. I really was not blown away by French Dispatch, and I was positive on Grand Budapest Hotel, but not as much as most people were. But I what I did love though is that every frame of this movie just looked like a postcard, and it was fun for on that aspect. And I thought that Scarlett Johansson was great in this in a supporting role. I was one of my favorite performances of the year. What did you think of Jason Schwartzman in this? Because it was really a leading performance in a lot of ways. It's an ensemble, but he was really
I
kind
thought
of
he
like
was
this.
great.
Mhm.
I thought it was a performance I hadn't seen out of him in a while, and I know that he works closely with Wes a lot. But even then, I thought it sort of stood out. And this isn't my favorite Wes by a long shot. That probably goes to Life Aquatic, but
Is it?
yeah, probably
Oh.
closely followed by Grand Budapest.
Interesting.
But I thought this was great. I thought the
I do
performances
love
were
Grand
great.
Budapest. That's a great film.
Yeah, I think that, and I think he sort of takes from Grand Budapest and does that whole, story in a story that I really like to see him do.
What was the Wes Anderson film with Gene Hackman in it? The family,
The Royal
Tenenbaums. That's a
Love that
great
movie.
movie.
Great movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grand Budapest. I did not like Astoria City. I actually walked out in the middle of it. So,
Ooh.
Oh, well then.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. So my number 4 is Dream Scenario, directed by Christopher Borgli, newcomer I never even heard of before.
Are you gonna do spoilers? Because I'm not gonna listen to it.
No. Not that long ago, we were recapping our 2023 a movie forecast, and one of those films, if you recall, I mentioned was Renfield, which ended up being a film I didn't like that much because I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan. But all was not lost, because in the end, Cage still delivered the performance of the year for me in this black comedy fantasy dream scenario. First, like I said before, first time collaboration with A24 and Nick Cage, which shocked me. This seems like a match made in heaven. I'm not going to give anything away,
Okay.
Ellie, but it's basically just about a nebbish college professor who seems to live a very mundane existence. And basically the premise is just he suddenly starts appearing in people's dreams. And there's really no explanation for that. And it's really just an examination of a satirical look at how society treats celebrity culture, and how we probably go overboard with this in cancel culture, meme culture, in the world of media and advertising. I think this film has a lot to say.
Sounds like a film I would want to watch for
I
sure.
would say Dream Scenario and Beau is Afraid are the two films that would be a perfect double feature for 2023 to reflect both outside pressures of society pushed upon them and the inner turmoil that we feel as a result of it.
That's awesome.
So I don't know if I can truly recommend these two films as a double feature. That would be one fucked up night. But you'd probably need a truckload of Prozac afterwards. So, but it would seem fitting. So I really liked it a lot.
I'm looking forward to watching Dream Scenario, actually. So I hope this weekend, hopefully I'll get to it.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our number 3 picks, and we already mentioned your number 3 pick, Sam, which was The Killer, and Ellie, we mentioned your number 3 pick, which was Past Lives. So we're gonna go on to B, your number 3 pick,
The Iron Claw. It was so good. It was so good. I grew up watching wrestling, although I didn't grow up with this family like we talked about earlier, and it was just so good. The performances were great. The storyline was tight. I thought it was just incredibly moving. And yeah, Zac Efron, he became a movie star.
That's great to hear.
I did not like Zac Efron looking that muscular, by the way.
Okay, well,
I
that's
did
I
not
don't think
like
he
that.
cares. You
I
got
did
it.
not
All right.
like that. I love my Zach, but not like that. Jeremy, on the other hand, I freaking love Jeremy. He can do anything. And I love anything he does. But the movie I went to see because my son is into wrestling since he was little. And he did mention that there was a brother that was left out of the movie, which kind of sucks
Mhm.
because it seems like he was not important enough to put in the movie. But from what I hear, is the director didn't want to make it too somber by adding another suicide. Sad story of this movie. Very sad.
It's
I
tragedy.
I do have to say SAG-AFTRA did. I think he did the performance of his lifetime in this movie,
It
and
was
I did
amazing.
cry. I cried. I cried at the
Mhm.
end. I cried at this moment when he says, "I don't have any more brothers." That was so sad. It was so
Zach
sad.
does this thing that I've never seen him do, which is he plays small a lot. You really see this this man whose body is taking up so much space, but he's so small
Mm.
next to his father, really, and next to his brothers, and just he wants to sort of take up as little room as possible, and it's really impressive to watch.
Yeah, he did a great job in this film. I think he did shined, and I
Mm.
don't think I've seen him do this well ever as
I
he
don't
did in
think
this.
so.
No, I
I
don't
was
think
trying to
so.
think of other stuff he's been in. I don't think I've seen him
No,
do this.
no, not at all.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this. Hopefully, sometime this week. Me and my dad. It seems like a good take your
Mm.
dad to the movie type of film. I'm
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
forward to that. Yeah.
Mm.
All right, so we're gonna get to our. No, I have to do my number 3 pick, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, directed by Joaquin Dos Santos and Justin K. Thompson. Like we said earlier, this was I think this was a big year for animation and animation that pushes boundaries between this film, the Turtles, The Boy and the Heron.
Mhm.
I guess I might have to throw Super Mario Brothers into the mix just because, as much as kids are into Mario, it is a franchise video game character that is now 40 years old, and our generation grew up with these characters. So it is a film appealing to both Gen X and Y, as well as young children. So it's proving animation isn't just for parents to put their kids, in silent mode and occupy them in the other room. So I just love that, we're getting variety.
Mhm.
Halfway through this year, this
Mm.
sat atop my best of the year, and it's just a testament that it's only moved down a couple spots at the end of the year list, because this movie just really kicks ass. This is, I think, the best superhero movie of the year. It
I
is,
agree.
you know.
And I don't like
Absolutely.
superhero movies, but I agree with you on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible. I think it raises the stakes from the first film. It continues a year or so after Into the Spider-Verse. I get them mixed up. Miles Morales is now 15 years old, I think, in this. And not really getting deep into the plot, but you can go back and listen to our episode. I think it was episode 18. The animation of these films is just gobstopping. It's a kaleidoscope of the most sensual, hypnotic, and energized animation I've experienced in a movie. And so many different styles of animation, all taking place in the same frame, which it just blows my mind. The storytelling is incredibly well done in this. It puts the relationship with Miles and his parents front and center, coupled with the story of Gwen Stacy, who is practically the co-lead of this film, and her relationship with her dad. These familial relationships, I think, are the heartbeat of this film. So I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I cannot wait for the third one of these to come out. I hope we don't have to wait too long. I know it got delayed. But yeah, I love Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. All right, so we're going to move on to our number 2 picks. Sam, before we do your number 2, we are going to have someone else introduce it. Ellie, you might recognize this voice.
2023 is probably one of the most stacked years for films that I could ever remember. There's so many great films that came out this year. And your number 1 could probably be The Holdovers. It could probably be Across the Spider-Verse. Or it could be Poor Things. But for me, my number 1 film of the year is without a doubt Oppenheimer. Chris Nolan, the GOAT, in his prime. Score by Ludwig Göransson. Incredible visual effects. editing on another level. The cast was insane. Performances by Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., Cillian Murphy. Oppenheimer, the highest grossing biopic of all time. Without a doubt, Oppenheimer was my film of 2023.
You're a long way from Chicago, Leo. If we don't act now, they're going to use this thing against Japan. We booked a meeting with Truman, but somebody killed it. You're meeting the Secretary of War. Just because we're building it doesn't mean we get to decide how it's used. History will judge us, Robert. In Chicago, we put together a petition. I'm not getting into that. Just tell me your concerns and I'll relay them. My concerns? Germany is defeated. Japan's not going to hold out alone. How could you know that? You got us into this. You and Einstein with your letter to Roosevelt saying we could build a bomb. Against Germany. That's not how weapons manufacture works, Sillard. Opie, you have to help. Fermi's in the meeting. Lars is in the meeting. They're not you. You're the great salesman of science. You can convince anyone of anything. Even yourself.
Oh, Carlos.
Hey,
Carlos.
Wow, well spoken, that kid. I didn't even know he could do that.
So I wanted Carlos to introduce Sam's number 2 movie.
So I thought that opinion was amazing, and it was a real tough spot. I almost put Oppenheimer in the number 1 spot. My number 1 film, which we'll get to in a moment, it just had a little bit more of an emotional response. That's the only reason why it won over. But I thought that structurally, Oppenheimer was incredible. Just the way it was made, the kind of non-linear storytelling that Christopher Nolan is such a fan of worked so well in this film. And I just thought it was an interesting and fascinating experience. And I think this movie will stand the test of time well. And again, I thought the cast was incredible. It was great seeing a whole bunch of familiar faces of actors and actresses that I'd seen over the years, all in the mix together in this epic film. So strong number 2 for me. Oppenheimer, I thought was pretty damn amazing.
I loved the dream sequences in Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Yeah, agree completely. I do, but I do need to see this again because I said this, I don't know how many times in this podcast. The score,
be surprised. Second
the
viewing,
score obliterated me in the theater, and I didn't like the score, but I missed so much of the dialogue. And I think Nolan has actually come out many times has said that you don't need to hear all the dialogue. It doesn't matter. But I'm one of those people that like, I kind of want to hear what's said because I feel like I missed some important things.
What, Nathan? You want to hear people talk?
I kind of do, but yeah. But I will say though, I mean, I did feel like this movie had a few pacing issues. I know, unpopular opinion, but I'm not going to be too down on this movie because I think it's me. I think it's me. I need to rewatch this at home, subtitles on.
It is you.
And it's me. Okay.
I liked it a lot. I didn't love the Florence Pugh character, and I did. Who thought that's how we would get the quote? "I am become death." I thought it'd be read to Florence Pugh's chest.
Yeah. All right.
Well, it is my number 1 movie.
Yes, it is also
a great movie.
Your number 1.
It is my number 1 movie, and for all the reasons. But more importantly, I watched this movie twice already at the theater. I've watched it the first time, and I watched it the second time. And every time I watch this movie, it draws me to it. I feel like I'm actually part of the damn movie. That's how I felt. I felt like I'm sitting there in the theater, but I'm really not there. I'm actually now transported into that era. And the moral issues that come with being a scientist in that time. And I actually felt bad for Oppenheimer because he knows what he's doing. He has to struggle with the moral issues of doing what he's going to do. And it's sad that we all know USA government isn't always what it appears to be. So yeah, at the end, he gets burned by it. There's a line in the movie where he says, they'll need you until they don't need you anymore. you know, and that is so true. And there's a sadness to this movie. And I know Sam says that he was number 2 because there wasn't enough emotion as the holdovers. I love the holdovers, but um, it wasn't my number 1 pick. But it could have easily been my number 1 pick. But for me, Oppenheimer had all the elements, and it has the history, the science. And if you don't know this history and science, it's a good way to learn it, I guess. But there is an emotional part to me to this movie, and it's Cillian who gives it to me all the way. And if you didn't see the emotional part through Cillian, then I don't know what I was watching, because I felt a sense of pain in his eyes at moments. So yeah.
We're going to get to the rest of our number 2 picks, and I have a close personal friend of mine who is going to introduce what is both Ellie and my number 2 pick. And
so my favorite film of last year, it's a tough one because it was a decent year for movies. I really think my favorite film, though, of last year, whether it won't win, I do think Paul Giamatti has a great shot for winning Best Actor, as does Divine Joy Randolph, who just won a Golden Globe. She's probably going to win Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. I think The Holdovers is probably my favorite film of last year. It's just such a classic film. It's well done. It's emotional. It surprises you. It's great. It's everything you ever want. And I'm surprised you even say that. It's just a really wonderful film, and it's really just wonderful. I love every part of it, and has probably the best last scene of any film I've seen in a long time.
So that was my good friend Lenny Schwartz, who is a Rhode Island playwright, filmmaker, and he just told us his number 1 movie of 2023 that both me and Ellie have as our number 2 film of the year. And
that would be my number 1 as well.
And
Holdovers.
Sam's number 1.
There was an incident when I was at Harvard with my roommate. And he accused me of copying from his senior thesis, plagiarizing. Well, did you? No, he stole from me. That blue-blooded prick's family had allies on the faculty. I mean, their last name is on a library, for Christ's sake. So he accused me in order to sanitize his treachery, and they threw me out. Hey, so you got kicked out of Harvard for cheating? Nope, I got kicked out of Harvard for hitting him.
You hit him? What, like punched him out?
Nope, I hit him with a car.
For me, an Alexander Payne film feels like a Saturday afternoon with no plan that turns out to be the best Saturday ever, and a lot of his movies feel like that, and I was just blown away by it. It was my emotional response that just made it such a gem that, for me, gave it a slight edge over Oppenheimer, even though Oppenheimer is by far and above the more epic motion picture.
Excellent. Yeah, Alexander Payne. I think he's just so good at creating like iconic, like flawed characters, especially the last 25 years. I mean, case in point, like Warren Schmidt, played by Jack Nicholson, about Schmidt, and Tracy Flick, the Reese Witherspoon character in Election, and the Grand Pumbaa of the
Election is so good.
And Miles Raymond, gloriously played by Paul Giamatti in Sideways. The Holdovers is right up there with, I think, Payne's best films. And I have to put alongside Sideways as 1A and 1B for me. I love it that much. And I think Paul Giamatti has turned in a tour de force performance as Paul Hunnam, a strict high school history professor at a prestigious New England academy. And he's forced to stay at a school during the holiday break to babysit several students who are staying at the school. No, what's really funny, I know nobody here but me has seen Dream Scenario, but I think it's just kind of interesting that probably my favorite 2 leading male performances of the year were from middle-aged white men in the role of high school teachers. I'm not sure what that says about me. But yeah.
You're funny. I thought Paul was really funny in his speech yesterday for the Golden Glove.
Oh, I wish I'd seen that.
He's so funny. He went up there. I really enjoyed his talk. He was so natural.
I just, again, I think there's a big theme of trauma this year, and another movie about trauma. I love that this film peels back the layers of each of the three lead characters to reveal their trauma. One of the things that I thought made this film very special was the look of the film. It's a real love letter to early 70s new Hollywood movement in its pacing, its color palette, its soundtrack. Everything about
That's
this
really
movie
great.
is gorgeous to me, and the characters are so real and down to earth. And even though this is a heartfelt drama, there are some hysterical dialogue in this
Yeah.
too.
And
You know,
it's
some
so,
great
and
one-liners.
they're so, all the characters are so relatable, right? They're just anyone, it could be any one of us in that situation. So,
B, your number 2 pick. I definitely want you to talk about this.
My number 2, it surprised me so much. I did not expect this to even make my list. It was like very vaguely on my radar. The Boy and the Heron. I thought it was
Missed so many films.
so moving and beautiful. It was really a culmination. If Miyazaki doesn't make another film, what a swan song to go out on. I mean, this is just, and I hope he does. I hope he does. He feels like a person who just has creativity oozing out of his bones, his marrow. But it really felt like all of his films had led up to this. And I think for some
Yeah.
people that reads as messiness, but for me it really read as like everything until The Boy and the Heron was almost like a dress rehearsal. And this is just a beautiful portrait of childhood exploration, of parental and child relationships, of fantasies, of worlds, and the weight of all that. It was just beautiful and touching, and in that Miyazaki way it was a little wild and funky and um effortless. It was just really astounding, and it blew me away so much. This is my biggest surprise of the year. And I can't wait to watch it over and over and over again. I took my niece, she is 14, and I don't think she had never seen a Miyazaki film before, and I don't think she's seen anything like this. Any movie that touches on these subjects as a young person, any movie that looks like this. I think it was just all new, and it's incredible.
See, this is not where I would advise someone to start their Miyazaki journey with this movie, but
She's
interesting.
14.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I want her to come to the movies with me, you know?
Interesting. Okay. I will admit I was lukewarm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought there were a lot of ideas that were tossed around in this, and they felt somewhat incomplete or abandoned, and the movie I didn't feel fully accessible. I was so thankful I got to see this in IMAX. And how many times will I see a Miyazaki film in IMAX?
Yeah.
So I am grateful for that. And I will cherish that experience. I got to see this in the theater. It's the first time I've seen Miyazaki in the theater.
Same.
So yeah. But
And those ideas that feel abandoned, for me, that was like, I love when movies don't explain everything, or if they leave something to the world. You know, they're just like, this is here. You don't need to know everything.
But I think I've never felt so, I wouldn't say betrayed, but I never felt so I never felt that way so much from one of his films.
Yeah.
But I've never,
It's
but
bigger.
I'm not like, I don't love all of his movies. There are definitely a handful of movies from his that I'm like, no, these are not for me. But this was one I felt like had such grandiose ideas that like, there's something here, but I don't understand it. And I felt like there was a lot of things there's so much bird poop in this movie, and like is this just a metaphor that life is shitty, or is there something else going on here? I don't know. And there's all these references to like Disney classics. We got Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Alice in Wonderland, and like there's all this stuff just sticking to the walls, and like, but what is it all about? What is going? And like I don't know. I don't know if we're supposed to know.
I don't even think everything meant something. I think you can just sort of let it wash over you like a dream.
Yeah. All right. So I think that really is everything, because our number one picks we have already stated. B, your number one was Killers of the Flower Moon, as was
Hell
mine.
yeah.
Sam, your number one was The Holdovers, and Ellie, your number one was Oppenheimer. So there you have it, our top 10 films of 2023. Now, I think we're going to end it there tonight because we've been going for a long, long time. But I just want to say, is there anything else, any other honorable mentions, other caveats that you just anyone wants to say before we wrap this up? But any films?
Yeah, go see They Clone Tyrone. That was pretty close for me. It was a good movie. It's on Netflix. It's good to see Jamie Foxx on screen again. Go watch it.
There's definitely a few films I got to catch up on, but I'll be watching those in the early part of 2024 in the next few weeks.
Okay.
I usually take a break in January. It's TV time for me.
Yeah. I want to mention one movie that has not come up, and it was never going to make anyone's list. But
Fast X?
The very beginning of the year, I watched Infinity Pool from Brandon Cronenberg. This is not the best movie I ever saw, and I went into it knowing absolutely nothing about it, I remember. But I think that's sometimes the best way to do that when you're watching a movie where the director's last name is Cronenberg. This film was wackadoo. And basically there's this resort in a country where the rich can do whatever they want. They can even getting away with murder. It stars Mia Goth and Alexander Skarsgård. Their performances are what make this movie so compelling, especially Goth, who is really becoming one of Hollywood's it girls right now.
Can't wait for Maxine.
There's a trippy drug montages and a score from Tim Hecker that creates this incredibly unbalanced atmosphere. I'm not going to get into the plot because it's just so weird. But if you are familiar with his father, David Cronenberg's film, The Apple Hasn't Fallen Far from the Tree. It's a wild ride, and it's just one of it's probably the most insane, crazy movies that I saw all last year. And if I could have fit it somewhere on my list or honorable mentions, I would have done it. I just want to mention this movie because it stuck with me all year as the most insane movie I saw of the year, and I think people should check it out. Yeah.
I loved Possessor. I thought it was great. And I really like David, I thought. And I like his newer stuff. I thought, was it Crimes of the Future?
Yeah.
Was
2 years
wonderful.
2 years in a row, I would say the most insane movie I saw came from a Cronenberg.
Yeah. They're great movies.
Yeah. Sam, anything you want to mention? Any other honorable mentions or caveats about your list? Or
I mean, I did like Tetris. That wouldn't make it on the list, but I like the business aspects of the film, and it was a little convoluted, like not the best structure, but it was
cool the way they filmed it.
Yeah, I was entertained throughout.
These are great lists, great top 10s from everyone. Thank you so much. We will be back next week where we're going to be doing our 2024 movie forecast, which I cannot wait to hear what movies we're all looking forward to this year. So that concludes our show for this week. We sincerely appreciate you tuning in. As a final reminder, if you are enjoying what you hear, please consider leaving a rating and review. Your support truly brightens our day. The ideal platforms for this are Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or whichever platform you use to access our show. Stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok, and on Twitter, which is at Back Frame Rate on Twitter and Back to the Frame Rate on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok. So many platforms. And of course, the most effective way to support us is by sharing our episodes on your social media platforms. Your support means the world to us. Back to the Frame Rate is a proud member of the Western Media Podcast Network. All right, that is it. The show is over. Goodbye.
I want you to know it's over.